What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to a Thursday edition of House Divided. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. We are the Men in Black.
That's right. It's a Johnny Cash show today. I like it. In fact, quick shout out to the fellas, the ladies, and all the good folks over at Pine House. I got the Electric Jellyfish shirt on today, Ketch, because it's National Hazy IPA Day. And I think if I had to rank them, I think the Jellyfish is my favorite hazy IPA. So shout out to Pine House Pizza and the incredible Electric Jellyfish today.
Well, if you're going to do that, shout out to the people on Merseyside, Liverpool Soccer.
Gee, my God.
You know what? You got to do it.
What was that, 15 seconds? Jeez.
Oh, you get to talk about the Pine House on your shirt. But if I mention what's on my shirt, I've committed some freaking travesty of mankind.
I have not talked about Pine House enough to where Blake had to make a graphic. I mean, come on.
You guys are snobs.
We are snobs.
You're college football snobs. But that's okay. We do like the college football snobs.
Oh, yes. Yes. College football snobs are our people.
And today's going to be a fun day. Brian Jones from CBS Sports, who many moons ago was a radio show partner of Chad Hastings.
Oh, those were good days, Ketchum. Those were some fun
wild,
days.
out of control days.
Woo!
I might see if Brian will sing Prince for us like he once did on Lake Austin. That is stuck in my brain like the Elgin watermelon story is stuck in the brain of so many others. He joins us at 1:20. Dustin McComas, who's just been too busy for, the first couple of weeks that we've been doing this, he's going to join us at 2:20. Yeah, it's a reunion. Baby. It's a reunion show.
That's right. King of Ping. I'm excited about that.
It's a Johnny Cash reunion show.
It really is. We should just sing Johnny Cash tunes all day long. Make everybody sing Folsom Prison or something.
We are going to talk about Texas training camp battles in a second. The last remaining scrimmage, the big one, is Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Next week is the last week before game week. They'll probably go to about Thursday. That's it. Camp's over. Suddenly it's game week the following week in Rice on Saturday. It's 16 days until all of these things happen. But we're only 2 days away from the scrimmage, Chad. Sark said it. It's the depth chart scrimmage. A lot of decision-making from the coaches will be decided following what happens on Saturday. But we're going to jump into that. Plus, straight from the message boards of Orangebloods, I am stealing from the message boards and bringing a topic to the show today.
Thief.
The topic, hottest game you've ever been to, coldest game that you've ever been to, drunkest you've ever been at any sporting event. And I guess that would also include watching sports, because like my drunkest, I've only been drunk ever, probably like you can count them on one hand. Like
you
truly
mean
drunk.
Do you mean ever?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But one of the times that I got the drunkest in my life was on the night that Texas beat West Virginia in the NCAA tournament on Kenton Paulino's leaning shot.
Yeah.
We were doing, what was that wing place on 620 that Fowler's?
That sounds, RC Fowler's?
I think so.
Something like that.
We were doing an event at Fowler's, like a watch party for Orangebloods.
Okay.
And when it was over, we all went downtown. And I remember that night because I ended up getting like 5 phone numbers. It was really nice. It was like, man, I've got my Mac Daddy Jeff Ketchum game going tonight. But man, the drinks were flowing. And the thing is, I didn't leave the bars till about 3 that I remember. And then it was either drive to Cedar Park, because I had to do a radio show with Aaron Hogan at 6 o'clock that morning. And went to the radio station. You know, you work there.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so trashed that on the way into the building, I had to puke and rally, like just all over the parking lot. I was so embarrassed because I thought the person that would show up there in the morning would park their car and be like, what?
Yeah, that's gross.
What has happened here?
Right. That was probably me. I probably had to pull into that spot. Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
I
you.
don't think so. I think that would have been like a salesperson pulling into the building at that hour. Sorry about that from 17 years ago. My apologies. So, hottest you've ever been at a game, coldest you've ever been at a game, drunkest. I love that Paxton right away, Chad.
Come on, Paxton. Hottest, Lubbock last year. Coldest, none. Drunkest, Texas OU 2018 Big 12 championship. Oh,
That's
drunk
fair.
at Jerry World. Okay.
That's fair.
That's an expensive drunk if you were buying them inside.
Given what happened in that game and the implications of it all, makes total sense.
Yeah, easily forgiven, Paxton. No problem there. Yeah, let us know. Let's see. Our man CB, coldest game I watched at home, 2013 Texas Baylor. 2013 Big 12 championship game. Coldest they watched at home. Catch 2013 Texas Baylor in Waco is the coldest I've ever been. I went to that game. I piled on clothes. I can still remember the late, great Sean Adams making fun of me because when Sean Adams got dressed up for that game, it was 20 degrees or it was probably 18 degrees and wind blowing. When Sean Adams got bundled up, he still looked cool. He looked like Sean Adams. He didn't look layered up somehow. But I had like long underwear on, but long sleeves, big coats, puffy coats. My wife said I look like the killer from I Know What You Did Last Summer without the hook. That's basically what I looked like. And Sean ripped on me all day, but I didn't care. I had to do a pregame show from this little tent out in the parking lot, not indoors, then go out there, didn't have a press box pass. All the big wigs had the press box pass. I had to go down on the field for that one. And let me tell you what, Ketch, I walked into that press box at halftime just to get warm. I have never been so happy to see Jody Conrad in my life. I love Jody.
Jody, give me a hug.
I love Jody. Jody digs me. I love Coach to death. Man, I saw her and I'm like, Coach, what do you want to talk about? Talk about anything. I just need to stand near you because they're going to kick me out of here in about 10 minutes. And she just starts laughing. That is easily the coldest I've ever been at a game.
1988 also in Waco, the Texas Baylor game.
Okay.
I don't know what the temperatures were, but it was drizzling and 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Ooh.
And it was just wet. The wind always makes it worse.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you hit a certain temperature, and once the wind starts blowing on you, it's awful. There was a moment in the game. Texas lost that game. And one of the things that happened in that game was that after Baylor scored a touchdown, kicked a field goal, whatever, as they kicked off, they kicked it off into the air, and the wind was blowing so bad that the ball came back, and Baylor recovered it as an onside kick. That happened. I've literally seen that in a game before.
Dang.
And my mom, it was so cold. My mom was like, I'm going to go in the car. You come to the car.
Yeah. Right.
When either you're ready or when the game is over, but I'm not doing this.
Those are brutal, dude. Somebody saying last year in Stillwater, Paxton says that was pretty hot too. Catch, hottest I've ever been was back in the day when A&M used to play LSU in non-conference. You remember those days, right?
Oh, yeah.
And A&M was handling LSU back in those days too. But I remember it would have been while I was in school, so somewhere in those early 90s. Dude, it was 96 or 97 as the high. I think the game kicked at like 2:30. It was brutal. I was sitting on the third deck. That's easily as hot as I've ever been. Close second, though, and I'm not trying to bring the game up to be a smartass, but if anybody remembers actually attending Route 66 against UCLA, that was a brutally hot game. Somebody in my group had to go to the medical tent just to get it checked out. She was fine, but it was that kind of hot. That's my second place. First place was that A&M LSU game. That I don't know what, and it's like I almost don't know what's worse, Catch. Some people like to, hot. I'm one of those that I can deal with the heat more than I can deal with the cold. I'd rather have the hot game than the cold game, but neither of them's great. Like they both suck.
I will save my hot one, my hottest. It was 140 degrees on the field that day.
Oh,
I will share you the sweat dripping details, the look on Lynn Swann's face. I'll save it for next hour.
Nice. Lynn Swann as a sideline guy, huh?
Oh, Lynn Swann holding up the temperature gauge and not wanting to be anywhere. I think he would have rather have been in Iraq at that point or Afghanistan more so than on the field back in the days when Texas had actual AstroTurf and not grass and not field turf.
Yeah, we'll get that. I can't wait for that story. I do love Lynn Swann as a sideline guy. So today on House Divided, we will get into that hottest, coldest, drunkest you've ever been at a football game. Thanks to everybody who's liking the page, subscribing, 16.4, headed up towards 17,000 on the Orangebloods live page. Thank you for that. Get your notifications so you know when shows are going to fire up. And thank you to that chatter who said they were finishing up the first Outsiders show before watching this show. It was fun last night with Chance Mock and Bo Edge and the crew on the Outsiders show. That's coming up next Wednesday again at 9 o'clock. But if you want to go check it out, check that out. Check Anwar out with the old fashioned. Check Rod Babers and the Rodcast you might have missed as well. But right now, just keep it right here.
Yeah, don't go send it on elsewhere.
Not now. I'm saying when you hit the downtime, then you go there. You want to be here because we're 16 days away from kick, and we're about to dig into some scrimmage talk, depth chart discussion. So, Ketch, as we get into this, big scrimmage obviously coming Saturday. For you, we had this discussion a little bit last night we've had this discussion, I think, with the Outsider guys. Do you believe that truly there are 50-50 coin flip battles going on with this depth chart at this point? Or do you think everything's pretty much been decided?
That's a great question, Chad. People really should have watched the Outsiders, it would seem, because I think there's an area on the team that we're not talking about enough, where I think from the first team to the second team to the third team, the position battles are ongoing, will be ongoing going into the scrimmage. And there's probably a pretty good chance that throughout this entire season, we will see this position constantly battle to get on the field. And that's linebacker. When we showed up on Monday and we started talking about Leona LaFau forcing a turnover against Jatavion Sanders, it's a stark reminder that you've got Jalen Ford and he is fine, right? No need to worry about Jalen Ford. He's got a position on lockdown. You've got David Bendis starting next to him. And when the Longhorns go to three linebackers, and for those of you that can't remember Texas playing three linebackers last year because it doesn't happen a ton all the time, that would have been the Tucker Dorsey spot. He slid into that third linebacker spot. This year, that's Maurice Blackwell. But you've got this freshman class that came in, and you've got Anthony Hill. And there's some talk that Anthony Hill is playing his way into consideration to be a starter. And that even if he doesn't start, he's a guy that's going to play a lot this season. Then you start thinking about LaFau makes the big play in the scrimmage on Saturday. What exactly is his place on the depth chart? You've got a senior and Jet Bush that is back still on the depth chart. Is he going to lose a spot to LaFau? Or how does that play out? I'm fascinated to see when the depth chart comes out where the freshmen at linebacker are, because this is a bit of a starting point. I mean, we'll get through the end of Saturday, and I think the depth chart will really start to be ironed out at that point. But I think there are players in this program from this freshman class that will be surging throughout the season, and they may not have a position with more young guys that in theory could surge than the linebacker position. Does Samaje Burrell put himself into a position to be on a two deep? The depth at linebacker, it's a little bit like the depth at offensive line that, even a year ago, you had two guys starting from that freshman class, but almost all of the depth behind the starting line were members of that offensive line class from the 2022 group. this year at linebacker, I wonder how many of those freshmen can put themselves into a position. So, yeah, linebacker to me is the one where if there's one that's still completely wide open, that's it.
And Ketch, would you tell a Longhorn fan right now that the linebacker depth and this battling that you're talking about, is it good news for them? Is it thicker than you thought it would be? Is it more competitive than you thought it would be? Because if I'm a fan, I don't want to hear a lazy kind of report of, yeah, it's these 2 or 3 guys and that's really it, and nobody else is stepping up. Like, are these battles legit to you and you feel like it's even more, competitive than you thought it would be?
It's a combination of those things. I don't like coming into camp. I don't like the depth that this team has at linebacker. So the ability for the freshmen to improve on what I think previously exists is really critical for that group. I mean, I think we live in a world where if something happened to Jalen Ford, it changes everything. Sure. I don't know at that point who the leader of that group is. I don't know what quality really exists in a world where he's not on the field. So they're an injury away from me not. And look, I don't know if you heard about this. Linebackers, they're important.
It's kind of a big deal. A big deal.
Yeah. No, they're important. And Texas needs. So I think the good news and part of the answer to all those kind of, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it a combo of this? I think they're getting better by the day. So as those freshmen get better, the position gets deeper and stronger. But it is fair to ask, certainly at the beginning of the season, just how much stress are you putting on young guys that may or not be ready for that? Like, I don't know that you want to go into Alabama and 3 of your top 6 linebackers be freshmen and that their first road game and ever as a college player is at Alabama in prime time in front of 100,000 people. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Some dogs, you throw them into the water and they swim right away. Yeah. I've got a German Shepherd who's creeping up on 2 years old, like a little bit more than a year and a half, I guess. And she loves the swimming pool.
Really?
She only likes to get on the swimming pool with the step. Like, she gets on the step and lays down.
Okay.
She is terrified of whatever she thinks that ocean of the swimming pool.
Right. So she's not jumping in. She's just putting the foot in. She just a little bit.
The whole body goes in. But beyond the step.
Only on the step. Okay, I got you.
Imagine like a 2-year-old, right? It's like, oh, it's cute. They're on the 2-year-old, but don't let them them wander over by the edge of the platform.
Yeah.
And then I've got another dog that the day we got her, she got pushed into the pool and she just swam, no problem. Not afraid of the pool, not afraid to go in. But I've got one who's in it all day long, but she can't swim in it. And I think that, how much is the Texas linebacker unit at this point? A little bit like that. They kind of look good in practice. They look better than maybe some of the older guys. Does that mean they're ready to go do it in games? These are decisions that the coaches will have to make. If I see a Jet Bush, I feel like I'm picking on him, but I think there's a lot of Texas fans that have seen Jet Bush play linebacker, seen Jet Bush play edge, play in big games, play on important snaps. And I think there's a feeling that they want to get the roster to a point where the talent level is better than that. To get truly difference-making players on the field. I think even at the depth, it's like that's when you know that you're making progress, when some of the guys that are still on your depth chart and haven't been ace performers as players, they start getting replaced before they've graduated. You're getting better at those positions. I think that's one of the first things I'll look at when the depth chart we think comes out in 10 days, something like that, 11 days.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So I think that'll be one of the first things I look for is what does the entire depth situation look like at linebacker? I do think it's fluid through Saturday's scrimmage.
So Ketch, here's Glenn with a chat. This would be me if I'm a Texas fan. This would be my exact thought. I want to hear that Anthony Hill not only is a good pass rusher, but is figuring out run lanes and pass drops. Glenn, I would agree with you there. If I'm a Texas fan, that's exactly what I want to hear. So, because Ketch, the first time I saw him, well, I'd already watched some of the film, and then I see the spring performance and all that, and all I could think of was, man, you need to send him after whoever the quarterback is for Rice just a few times. But there's more to it than that. And so that's the discussion, too, with Anthony Hill. Is he to the point where they're legitimately thinking, man, he can not only do that, he can do anything we need him to do for this team?
I don't think he's there.
Okay.
And I don't think the coaches are either A, expecting him to, and B, demanding that of him. I think very early on, one of the things I've heard conveyed about Anthony Hill is that he's not going to be held back in the name of, can he do it all? Right? Whenever we see, it's funny when we talked about the Cowboys this week and whether or not Deuce Vaughn is your RB2 in Dallas. And one of the pieces of that conversation is, can he pass protect? Because if he can't, then you put him on the field, you're kind of giving away what you were doing if you feel like he's a liability there. I think the same thing somewhat happens on the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned I don't remember who asked the question. It was Glenn.
Glenn, yep.
They're not going to not put him on the field if the pass drops are a work in progress. I think what they're going to figure out is right now, what can Anthony Hill do and excel in? I think pass rushing is at the top of the list. I think he's going to be a situational pass rusher at the linebacker position that I think could be quite exciting. He's kind of a wild card. The rest of the stuff, he's getting better. We're hearing more things about kind of the complete package of what he's doing, but I don't know that means he's ready to play significant snaps outside of, situational packages, say against Alabama. Maybe.
Right. Yeah,
progress is being made, but how quickly to that extent, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, that's big. It was like when I think about a guy like DeMarvion Overshown when he was at Texas, there were obviously moments where you could see the talent right away. You could see that freakishness and some of the things he could do. But we also saw situations where teams would get him, where teams would bait him and fool him as he was developing. Obviously, you got to watch out for that with Anthony Hill in the early going, because that's what I would do if I'm the other team. I watch that. I'd watch him on film and think, okay, we got to get that guy leaning in and dump some stuff over the top. We got to mess with him in a lot of ways. So we'll see how that development works with Hill.
Real quick, Chad, he reminds me of Sergio Kendall. And if you'll remember when Sergio Kendall comes in as a 5-star in the class of 2006, it felt like it took almost 3 seasons to kind of get him on the field. And in 2008, he takes off. 2009, he has a really monster year. And it leads to kind of the comment from his old high school coach that I can't remember what it was, but if you got a thoroughbred, don't ask it to run backwards. I think they've got a little bit of that in Anthony Hill. Going forward and attacking, he's a menace. If you're asking him to read and react and drop and make decisions, I think the feeling is that stuff's going to come in time. But let's not ignore an absolute weapon that we can use on defense that makes us better in the name of, well, it's either going to be all or nothing. I think what we're learning about this staff in conjunction with Anthony Hill is it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be some things and never nothing. And I think that's probably the right way to go. Those 2006 and 2007 Texas teams with a Sergio Kendall just running forward and attacking and playing like his seat is on fire, like those units would have been better, even if he's not the complete player that's maybe a full-time starter.
Yep, because I agree with that theory of you don't want to have a thoroughbred running backwards. I would just remind those defensive coaches, somebody on the other side is going to make someone run backwards. Just make sure you got that covered. That's the only thing. That's the only thing you got to figure out. It's fascinating stuff, though. Depth chart battle, 16 days away. By the way, up over 260, 265 is what I'm seeing. Folks in with us right now on House Divided. Thank you for that. Thanking you for getting those notifications going, subscribing to the channel, all the chats rolling in. And remember, to paraphrase Coming to America, we like the chats that jingle, but we love the chats that fold, those super chats that fold. So go ahead and throw something into the tip jar if you like. If you have a question, a comment, your hottest, coldest, drunkest, we'd love to do those as super chats today because we'll see them. We're old men with bad vision. You see me with the glasses on every day and Ketch as well. So we need to see those super chats, throw some money in front of it, and let us know about hottest, coldest, drunkest you've ever been at a football game today.
You blink more than I do, by the way.
Is that right?
Blinker. Yeah.
I'm a heavy blinker.
You're a heavy blinker.
You think so?
Because I'm constantly just looking at you.
Because I'm just trying to get the people to be attracted to the house divided. I'm just batting my eyelashes at the people.
I think you're like a hostage, and it's like blink twice if you're okay.
I'm signaling to everybody that Ketch is forcing me to do this in the Hall of Helmets. The Hall of Helmets is not a safe space. I am blinking my message right now.
I'm telling you, now that I've told like Paxton and the crew, like the people here all the time, like they're going to notice.
I'm going
to be like, that dude never freaking stops blinking. Not Chad, just for the record. There's nothing wrong with blinking. We're not having a contest.
I need to do it. Yeah.
Who can stare at each other the most without blinking? And it may be that I blink a lot too and don't know it. I'm just saying you blink like a mother.
I'm a heavy blinker. You know what? I do when I drive, I try to use the blinker a lot. I was taught to use the blinker a lot when I was a kid. So maybe that's it. It's just an extension of that. All right. So, so we went hotter and we went colder. You're going to save the hottest story for later.
Yeah.
Real quick. I'll give you my drunkest story. It's a Texas game. Ricky senior year, I went in with my man Trey Rhodes, the guy who hit us up the first show, loves Orangebloods. Trey Rhodes, me, we're in the group, got season tickets. I can't even tell you which game it was. I can just tell you it wasn't A&M. It was one of those mid-year home games. We go to the famous Trudy's and go after the Mexican martinis.
There you go.
And as everyone knows, you're not allowed to order more than 2 Mexican martinis per person.
Yes.
I cannot tell you how many were ordered. I cannot tell you I remember sitting at the table. I remember going after some Mexican martinis. I remember visions of the seats and the game and how kind of affected everybody was. Texas won the game easily from what I recall. That's the drunkest I've ever been at a game, though, because there are portions of that day that I couldn't exactly document for you. Thankfully, I didn't get drunk and throw up, but I was pretty drunk.
Is there a place in general that in your lifetime, if I say the word drunk, like, right, for a lot of Aggies, that might be like the Dixie chicken. Like, if I say intoxicated, you're just like, oh, God, yeah, like 100 times. Is there a place for you that is synonymous with your getting more than a little inebriated, like all the way inebriated?
Well, in terms of College Station, that would be the dry bean right next to the chicken. We would kind of start, the night would either start or end at the dry bean. So the dry bean comes to mind, little thin bar. You have to kind of, I can remember stumbling around and hitting that wall a few times at the dry bean, trying to get myself in or out. So I'm going to go with the dry bean. Shout out to the dry bean in College Station. It's still there.
Dallas nightclub.
Ooh.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, you mentioned that place a lot. I do feel like it holds a special place for you.
I used to live like a quarter of a mile away from it.
Would you literally stumble there and back? Or did you drive?
The idea, we always had somebody that could drive.
Right. Okay. Someone
and
drove
more times
you.
than not, that was me. But they had like these VIP nights twice a year on Saturdays where it was free drinks from like 6 to 9. And we would, because we knew the bartenders and the wait staff, we would say things like, 10 5-star generals, bring them over here. Oof. And we might I might drink 5 of the 10. I remember one night someone was like, you can't drink 10 in a row. Oh, and it was, on nights like that.
10 generals?
Huh?
10 generals.
Like in a row. In less than 2 minutes.
Would you call that the 50-star Saturday?
I called it at 9 o'clock at night, puking in the parking lot. That's what I called it. I just remember this one night I got very drunk and I got on the phone and called some girl And I can remember my brain saying, don't do it. You're drunk. You're doing the drunk call thing. Don't be that guy. And I vomited while in mid-conversation on the phone. Like,
oh my God. Yeah, this is the guy you met the other night. My name is Joe.
Hey, you mentioned Sean Adams. We
Yes.
were in Nashville for a Rivals conference one year. And it's one of these nights, the Rivals guys are getting us drunk. And I can remember this girl. I'm so drunk. I'm in this bar, and this girl comes up to me, and we start talking about radio and I don't know, like media or something. And she just was really interested in what I had to say. And in mid-conversation, I just at the bar did one of these.
Oh my God.
And then tried to pick back up in the middle of the conversation. She wasn't really having that.
Really? Really? She was classy enough that the mid-conversation puke take wasn't going to work?
I'm like, you know what? You should send me your resume. I might be able to.
That is so wrong.
I know.
That is so wrong.
And I'm telling you, like, I remember them because it didn't happen. I'm telling you, I can't think of any sporting event that I've ever gone to that I drank at. Ever.
Yeah. And for the record, I did not drink at that Texas football game. We did enough of it at Trudy's that it just layered over. But I didn't drink at the game because we couldn't. That was back in the day. Remember, that was back in the day at DKR when they trusted the bigwigs with alcohol, but they didn't trust the regular folks with alcohol.
See, this is what's messed up, man. Because there was like a 2 or 3 year stretch in the mid 2000s. There you go, blinking again.
By the way, hey, you know what? Let me replace it with one here because somebody is trying to dime me out. Paul tells you that's why Chad did radio. Way to bring up a sore subject for him, Ketch. I am a part of the Overblinkers of America, okay? I am a member of the OBA. I have been for years. It's why I never had a TV career because I knew that when I was giving the weather or doing sports, I would be blinking. I blink a lot. I'm sorry. And now Ketch has made me self-conscious.
I feel I'm going to make you self-conscious about the blinking, and I apologize.
You know what? Here's what we have to do. I'm going to have to go to 8th grade mullet for a second, and I'm just going to have to gather my thoughts is what I'm going to have to do. This kid didn't blink too much.
You look like you're literally going to a Garth Brooks concert.
Oh my God, dude, I cannot tell you how cool I thought I looked in that shirt. I thought I was
Thunder
it
Rolls
in that shirt.
Thunder Rolls is definitely playing in the background while that photo is being taken.
3:30 in the morning, and on a stroll inside.
By the way, Ben G. See, that's what I did.
See? You see what you do?
Jeez. I didn't mean to.
Terrible.
Look, I can't help it. I noticed it.
What do we do this? I'm OCD. I noticed stuff too. Don't feel bad.
Look, we talked about the linebackers. Let's take a break. When we come back, I'll give you the next position that I don't think is completely locked up. Plus, we'll take your questions in the chat. Did I see a super chat that we never got to?
No, I don't know. I hope we have a super
Paul
chat.
Talking about your face for radio. We'll take your super chats.
I'm gonna blink 600 more times in the next segment too.
You don't miss the 600 blinks. There's a lot of stuff coming. Buy or sell, top of the hour. We're just getting started. It's a house divided. This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look back at the single lowest rated recruit of the 2020 recruiting class and one of the 5 lowest rated position players that the Longhorns have signed in the last 5 recruiting cycles. That's right, I'm talking about senior All-American linebacker Jalen Ford, a lowly 3-star prospect who ranked as the number 127th ranked player in the state of Texas per Rivals. Yeesh. Ford's recruitment began in earnest in the spring of 2019 when he picked up 16 offers by the end of May, including Power 5 offers from the likes of Kansas, Minnesota, Utah, and Texas Tech. Still, the recruiting services paid him no attention. After taking unofficial visits to Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Hawaii, Ford took his first official visit to Texas Tech in late May. Quote, "This is my only official visit for the summer," Ford said at the time. "I'm looking to visit Washington State and Utah early in the season, so maybe I'll be ready around September, then make a decision and announce my commitment shortly after that." True to his word, the trip to Utah proved to be a game changer for Ford as he committed to the Utes on October 8th of his senior season, right after taking his official visit to see the Utes. Very quietly, though, the Longhorns became involved in his recruitment a month later. After Texas assistant coach Tim Beck visited Ford at his high school, Tom Herman called him a week later to offer a scholarship. Ford did a good job of keeping the news of Texas's interest under wraps. In fact, in early December, Ford told Orangebloods that he hadn't even been talking to the Texas staff. At the time, Lone Star was alive in the Texas State playoffs, and Ford said he wanted to remain focused on his team's playoff run. Once Lone Star season came to an end on December 14th, Ford began to focus on his upcoming decision, and he finalized the decision to commit to Texas a week later. "It was really right before I was going to sign," Ford said. "At that point, football is over. I finally had some time to sit down and think. The day I didn't sign, the first day of signing day, I had to call Utah and Texas. It was a little bit chaotic." On December 23rd of 2019, Ford committed to the Longhorns, and the rest is Texas football history.
We're back on House Divided. I have to thank Jeff Ketchum for this chat that just came in. Ben G says, "Oh my God, bro, I really can't stop looking at him blinking." By the way, Ketch, I've now done the work for people before Chris Bennett looks it up, before anybody else looks it up. If this is going to become my new nickname and you're going to start sending me gear, red is the answer to the question. Red is the color of the ghost in Pac-Man named Blinky. Bring it on. Shirts, hats, I need the gear. Blinky the ghost is the red ghost. I looked it up during the break.
So here's what I'm doing right now.
Yes.
Which makes for great content. I'm just
As
curious.
Yep.
I'm going to eBay Blinky Pac-Man shirt.
Yep.
I'm just curious.
Let's just see. Is there a Blinky shirt?
Oh, yeah.
We can throw my glasses on or something.
I'm going to send this to Blake. I am buying this for you today.
And by the way, if my man Dr. Hamilton is out there, I went to Dr. Hamilton, my eye doctor, yesterday to get the yearly checkup. And I talked to Dr. Hamilton about being a sponsor on the show because you guys see the glasses every day. Dr. Hamilton, we just went through this little stretch of a show where my blinking has become a part of the show. You got to want to be a part of this, brother. Come on now.
I would not have brought this up, Chad, had I known.
Man. Come on. What'd you say?
I wouldn't have brought it up if I felt like it was going to be a thing. I just was saying it out loud. That's all. Because nobody probably looks more directly into your eyes, not even your wife, than I have for the last couple of weeks. I stare at you while doing the show the entire time.
Right. And you're just noticing how wonderfully rhythmic my blinking is. That's fine.
You
no
just
problem.
Blinked again. Everybody take a shot.
Oh, no. Catch. Don't do that to him. Oh, my God. You're going to have everybody wasted at work.
The answer to the drunk question will be today.
Yeah. Why does everybody passed out over there at the office? They took a shot every time Chad blinked on the House Divided.
There you go, Chad.
There it is. Original gangster. Oh, please. I need that. It says original gangster. Can I get that one?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God. That's funny. All right.
Let's settle back in.
All right. Give me the other. You said there was another depth chart battle you wanted to get into outside the linebacker stuff?
I feel like there are battles everywhere, right? So we know that the quarterback stuff, I think that's settled. I don't think there's anything that could happen on Saturday in the scrimmage that changes the depth chart when it comes out in 12, 11 days, whenever it is, on the day of the opening, that first Monday of the football season.
You think we're locked in to Quinn, Malik, Arch?
Nothing's going to change that.
Gotcha.
Honestly, it would be a nuclear bomb of sorts.
Yeah.
If any, obviously we're talking about Malik and Arch more than anything else. Quinn's perfectly established. If anything other than 1, 2, 3, what we just described occurs, I think there are real implications at that point about what happens next. And the coaches can say, oh, it's a meritocracy and we play the guys that earn the positions and we don't think about that. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And it's okay to say that you do. Maybe not out loud. You wouldn't want to say, well, Malik is just the backup quarterback because we don't want him to transfer. But deep down, we know that, they didn't announce a starting quarterback 2 years ago until practice started because they didn't want Casey Thompson to transfer. And no matter how mad he got once the news got out that he had lost that job, he stuck around. I think that those things are always in play, and coaches can say that they're not. I think running backs are pretty established. I think C.J. Baxter's constantly pushing Jonathan Brooks, but I don't think there's anything that could be done that causes Jonathan Brooks to lose the starting job. So I think the pecking order at running back is the pecking order at running back. Wide receiver continues to be interesting. Just because it feels like there are 5 or 6 guys that are constantly getting first-team reps at wide receiver. I think it speaks to just how deep they think they are at wide receiver, but I think the starting jobs and the backup jobs are pretty much determined. Tight ends determined. That's almost the entire offense. I think you can look at the offensive line, and while I don't think there are any starting jobs that are open, I think the positioning and the slotting behind the starters is an area where I think there's still competition taking place. Is Malik Agbo the backup right guard, or is it, Cole Hudson? Is Cole Hudson technically a center? Would they list Cole Hudson in multiple places? But other than that, I think who's truly the backup left tackle? Is it Cam Williams? Is it any of the other guys that have been playing there? So, but I think in the secondary, there's probably competition that's still taking place. It's probably the one position where I think that maybe edge. Ethan Burke is winning the starting edge job opposite of Baron Sorrell. But what's taking place behind there, I think, is a really interesting battle. I think most of the interesting battles up for grabs in the scrimmage are on the defensive side of the ball, mostly with regards to depth. But I do think in the secondary, Chad, the starters are probably locked in, but you have guys who are probably technically going to be third-team players that by the end of the season could be pushing the starters. So what does it look like for Derek Williams? What does it look like for Malik Murphy? Malik Murphy. A lot of Maliks. Malik Muhammad. and how quickly can these guys climb the depth chart? Where they start week 1 is probably a real good indication of how much they're surging or not surging, because there are older guys on the depth chart that could easily slide into those spots.
By the way, Ketch, for a quick second, I want to give some love to one of your guys. As much as I am familiar with some of the guys in the Orangebloods family, there are a couple guys that I have not had a chance to meet face-to-face yet, and one of them is Travis Gailey. Do I have the last name right? Yeah. So Travis, for those that have not been to Orangebloods today, or maybe you've been thinking about, do I want to get involved? Of course you want to get involved. 16 days till kickoff. Get in. Get all the great Orangebloods information. Travis did a great thing, Ketch, which I think a lot of fans, if they're like me, they're going to enjoy. I'm always thinking of, but what would that depth chart be? We're not going to get a depth chart officially till next week. Travis does a great job here of going position by position, offense, defense, and giving you, he lists in the way he thinks of it now: running back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tight ends 1, 2, offensive line, starters, playing time, all that type of stuff. So go check out that breakdown at Orangebloods. I really enjoyed looking at that today, Ketch. And when you were talking about the defensive backs, I think that's an interesting, obviously an interesting group to look at. I'm assuming Ryan Watts has locked down a position. He lists Ryan Watts and Terrence Brooks as the two corner starters. That I know is going to be a big thing for Texas fans. They're wondering who's going to be the corners. For you right now, would you agree with that assessment? Watts, Brooks, definitely the two corners in that first depth chart.
Yeah, I think so. But the competition is really strong. I mean, you've got a guy like Gavin Holmes, who's, was a starter in the ACC. He transfers. I think you've got
That's the weight transfer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so much depth. The second team secondary at Texas might be as good as most of the secondaries in the Big 12. And those are the backup guys. So I can't say enough about how good I think the secondary might be. And I think that's been reflective early on in camp. Everybody's saying that Quinn Ewers is having a good camp. Everybody that we talked to. Matter of fact, on Tuesday, he was a name that I was told he looked incredibly sharp. But not at one point this camp so far in the month of August has anybody ever come back and gone, you know what? Secondary got its ass kicked. They're going up against one of the 2 or 3 best wide receiver units in the country, a unit that feels like they got 5 or 6 starters, and they're going up against a quarterback that's being projected to be a first-round NFL draft pick next year. The secondary, not once. And who knows, maybe it happens on Saturday, right? We talked about a lot of times in these scrimmages, it's one unit dominates the first scrimmage, and then there's a unit strikes back. It's funny to watch NFL Hard Knocks because that oftentimes happens in NFL training camps. It's like the defense sucks, and so the coaches get the defense, and they're like, that's not good enough. Next time we go out, it better be better, and it is. So maybe Saturday is the moment where the passing game takes off. But by and large, I have not heard any negatives about the Texas secondary. And there's not been one day in camp so far, at least that I can remember, or if it happened, it didn't catch my ears, where it was like secondary had a bad day. Secondary had a bad day, and wide receivers were just running open all down the field. Not one time. I don't know if that group has truly had a bad practice yet. And I think that speaks to the level of talent back there, because you could make a case for every starter in the back end of the Texas defense that they could be an all Big 12 player this year. Ryan Watts has that inside of him. In fact, I think I'll be disappointed if Ryan Watts doesn't develop into that kind of player. Terrence Brooks is on his way there. A lot of people think Jahdae Barron's the best defensive back in the Big 12 coming back from last year, that he's kind of an analytics darling, even if he didn't have the big interception numbers and things like that. Jalen Catalon has been all SEC as a true freshman. And then Jaron Thompson comes in. He's been a 3-year starter. Good player. A leading tackler on the team. So all of these guys are really good. And then you look at what's behind them, and it's filled with a bunch of names of guys that I think eventually are going to be NFL players in their own right. So it really, along with wide receiver, the secondary is the deepest position on the field. But unlike wide receiver, I feel like there might actually be more battles for playing, true battles taking place. Because like I said, there are guys that are, they got more than 10 DBs that are good. They got like 11 or 12. So they've got a couple that don't make the 2 deep, that maybe when the original 2 deep comes out, Chad, there's an or next to their names because maybe the coaches don't want to leave them out. But it's a unit that goes deeper than 1 and 2 on the depth chart. And those guys that are on 3 are constantly battling, not just the 2s, but the 1s. Malik Muhammad has been a guy that kind of was in a borderline 2-3 category, and you're seeing him more and more play with the 2s, and his playing time won't lessen as the months go by.
All right, we got a super chat online. Before we get there, just a reminder, Brian Jones coming up at 1:20 from CBS Sports. 2:20 is Dustin McComas from 5 Tool Baseball, one of our absolute favorites. Buy or sells coming up at 1 o'clock. I'm going to hit catch with Robert De Niro and the Go-Go's today in Buy or Sell. And in the crap bag at 2, we got to talk about Deion Sanders and his coaching style, because it has been put into the spotlight after a fight happened at Colorado practice. Super chat catch $4.99. We're going back to the linebackers. Football Junkie says, how good has Benda looked at camp? You hear Hill getting sacks, interceptions, and playing fast and physical overall. All you hear is Benda knows the defense. Thoughts on Benda?
I mean, I think Football Junkie may have summed it up really well. Because there are levels to these positions. I think David Benda has a chance to be a solid football player for the Longhorns this year, but is he making big plays? Is he a guy that you look at the box score when the game is over and you're like, oh, David Benda made 5 tackles, and you're like, 0 tackles for loss, 0 forced fumbles, 0 recovered fumbles, 0 interceptions, 0 pass defenses, like zeros in all of the categories other than, hey, 3 tackles and like 2 assists. But maybe he's also not allowing a gaping hole to, create an 80-yard touchdown play. So I think there's a sense that he does know the defense. I think there is a sense that he's a good, solid football player. I don't know that my expectations for him to be a playmaker are very high at all. And I think that that's what you want. If you're Texas and Brian Jones is going to join us in a half hour and he's got Texas in the playoffs, you can't have average players in key positions. And it's what we don't know about David Benda at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Ketch, sometimes it's important to ask a question that has no answer. Are you ready for a question from Robert that has no answer?
Of course.
Here it is. Robert, there is no answer to this question. I have no idea.
I can answer it in its most simplest way, Chad.
How did the radio gods let y'all go 10 years without a show? Ketch, your thoughts.
The radio gods did not want to hire me. Because I did like national radio when I got fired from the Horn. And then I did like a little bit of a solo stint when I was doing the syndicated show. But once that was over with, they just don't like me.
I'll put it this way. In discussions about putting shows together, different changes or whatever, nobody ever asked me if that is something that I might be interested in. And when I floated the idea that that's something I might be interested in, didn't go super well. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. So it took this. It was meant to be. And, Giggle Bunny and Blinky are back together. What are we going to do?
No. Don't try to shake. We're Giggle Bunnies Incorporated.
Giggle Bunnies Incorporated, but I'm Blinky. Okay, that's what we've learned today on the show.
Blinky,
I am
the
Blinky
Giggle
the
Bunny.
Ghost. I'm Blinky the Ghost because Jeff says I blink maybe more than any. Oh, it could just be that Jeff's not been looking at anybody else in the face. That really could be it. He could be just ignoring everyone else in his life. He's only having to look at me, and he thinks I blink a lot. But now the people on the chat are saying they can't stop looking at it. So if you're like me and you blink too much, this is supposed to be a safe space for you. So you come on in. I'll take it for all of us and join the chat. Enjoy the show. Up over 300 people, blinkers and non-blinkers, checking out House Divided right now.
You blinked 473 times during that sentence.
Okay, here's what I need. Can I get somebody to offer up a $2 super chat every time I blink? Can we do that?
Oh my God.
Can we
We'd
raise
be like
some money?
Scrooge McDuck, like playing with our cash in bed.
Can we raise some money, please? Oh my God, that's fantastic. All right, so we have all that stuff coming up. We have been talking depth chart battles in the last 5 minutes of the hour here before we get to buy or sell. Anything else on depth chart stuff? Something you're looking forward to, Ketch, for Saturday and that gets determined?
But I only bring this up because I double checked, and Mike Welch was an all-conference safety for Baylor in the late 80s.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure not the same Mike Welch, right? Like, of all the Mike Welches in the world, I can't believe that the former Baylor safety is in our chat. But I did look it up.
You tried.
Shout out to, I don't know, that guy's got to be in his 50s now, mid-50s, Mike Welch. I have an old Baylor. You know, they used to make those posters every season.
Yes.
For all the college teams. And I think there was an old Texas Longhorn one where they're like construction guys. So you had like players with sledgehammers in their hands and stuff.
They'd have a theme poster for the team.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, if you were a fan, you would get those autographs, like all the guys.
Yeah.
And bars would have them up all the time. Usually they were made by like Bud Light, right? So it was like Bud Light would create the poster with the schedule on it. Right. I used to have one back in the day with Mike Welch, Baylor safety on it.
There you go.
Joined by the likes of James Francis and Robert Blackman, who were pretty freaking good. And if you're a Texas football fan and remember that 1989 50-7 game, I had 50-yard line seats for that game.
Wait a second. You bringing that game up the day Brian Jones is going to join us? Wasn't Brian on the team that ate that game?
Yeah.
Ketch. What are you doing? Isn't that one of the games that Mac Brown brought Brian into the office and talked to him about?
Well, no, because this would have been 1989.
That's Brian.
Right, but why would Mac Brown bring him in the office?
Because when Brian took a shot at his team years later, Mac sat him down and started looking at his time at Texas and talked about when he played bad and when he played good.
Oh, damn, that happened?
Yeah.
Oh, we had to ask.
I'm sorry. Was that not out there? No, Brian's talked about
I do not remember that piece of radio history.
Brian has talked about that not only on the radio, but he's talked about it on CBS as well, that he calls it getting called to the principal's office. And
I told you it's like getting talked to by dad, man.
That did happen. Yes.
And the thing is, that was like 20 years ago for me. Right. Now it was like Mac was like a grandpa before he was a grandpa.
And as I recall the story, Brian can clarify. The story was Mac was trying to make Brian feel bad about that day. Brian had said the Texas guys should have been embarrassed to wear the uniform in an OU game. I think it was 65-13, 63-14 or whatever. So Mac tried to bow up on him and do well, Brian, I'm seeing here you were involved in this. Baylor 50, Texas 7. And Brian stops him, according to Brian, and says, and coach, I was embarrassed to wear the uniform that day. Just like I think your guys should be embarrassed right now. And those two just had to agree to disagree on the issue. But there you go.
That is wild. I have been there, though. Trust me.
$10 super chat
is if Arch starts next year, that would more than likely mean Murphy transfers. Would Texas look for in the portal for a backup quarterback? We'd go from a stacked quarterback room to a depleted, unexperienced one, in my opinion. Well, let's talk it out. If Arch starts, Quinn Ewers goes pro after this season, Chad.
Yeah.
So you bring back a quarterback room with Malik and Arch. You've got Charles Wright, who's not going anywhere. I mean, I really believe if Charles Wright was leaving the program, he could have already have done so. I think Charles Wright's content to be a Texas Longhorn football player. And then you've got freshman Trey Owens coming in, right? So if one of Malik or Arch transfers after losing the battle, and honestly, I think the way this thing goes is they'll wait to make a decision until about this point in training camp next year because it makes it too late to transfer. I can't imagine that there's really a world out there where Sarkisian announces a starter before fall practices begin. And I say fall, like August in Texas is fall. Right. Apologies. August is what I should say, or summer, I suppose.
Right. But well after that window closes for transfer.
That's the thing. They won't make a decision until that late in the process. So they wouldn't be able. The only way this changes is if one of these guys gets into a game situation and takes over the job so that when this season is over with, it feels like they are the starter, not Quinn, not the other guy. That someone goes James Brown, right? Mm-hmm. Chad, it's 1994. Shea Morenz gets hurt. JB comes in the Oklahoma game. Makovic doesn't even know what he has.
Yeah.
And by the end of that season, I mean, James Brown was the starter, and Shea Morenz just went and played baseball.
Yep.
And I think that's the only way you would see Texas in the portal is if it was so clear at the end of this season that one of those two guys is going to be the starter, that the other one transfers. And I don't know that I see that happening. If I had to handicap it, that feels like a 10% or less likelihood of happening. I think the way they'll try, and look, what remains to be seen, and Colby, I'll answer it like this, and then we'll go into buy or sell. If behind the scenes, deep down, let's say Malik knows deep down Arch is beating me and I'm behind, and he feels that way after the spring, then if he decided to make a move, then there probably would be enough time if Texas wanted to look for a backup quarterback option. They might feel comfortable with Charles Wright as the backup and Trey Owens as the third team guy, knowing that you've got the kid from Alabama scheduled to come in, KJ Lacey, the year that follows. It'd take a real unique situation because there aren't going to be any really quality starters that want to sit behind Arch Manning, Chad, just so you know.
Yeah, right.
I don't know that the Dylan Gabriels of the world out there looking for places to go to. And it's like, I can start at Central Florida or go sit behind Arch for my final season. And then the other concern would be you wouldn't want to get a young guy that throws off the commitment of KJ Lacey, that stunts the development of Trey Owens. So the quarterback position trickier in the transfer portal, I think, than other positions. I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah. All right, Colby, thank you so much for that super chat. So we're just going to roll it over to the top of the hour here. No breaks. Just going to fire right in because we got Brian Jones. Right?
Let's take a break. We'll do buy or sell, and then let's take a break right now.
Okay. All right. We'll take a break, come back, buy or sell, and then Brian Jones, House Divided, Orangebloods Live.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the biggest UT football stars of the last decade. Bijan Robinson was a 5-star prospect by Rivals when he signed with the Longhorns, finishing as the nation's number 18 overall prospect, the second best prospect in the state of Arizona, and the number 1 running back in the country, according to Rivals.com. Upon retrospect, it's kind of amazing that former running backs coach Stan Drayton was able to land Robinson when you consider that Ohio State was perceived as a massive leader for much of his recruitment. In fact, on the day he committed, Rivals.com recruiting analyst Adam Gorney told Orangebloods, quote, even after the Atlanta 5-star challenge, it almost felt like Ohio State was the foregone winner, Gorney said that day. But as it got closer, I think the realization that he would basically be going across the country to play football kind of set in. He really, really liked Texas and USC a lot, had connections to both schools, liked the staffs, and how they would use him, and wound up finding a school closer to home that he was very happy with. It wasn't until Robinson visited Texas on an unofficial visit for the spring game in April that Texas began to make it surge. By the time June rolled around, a couple of months later, the Longhorns had emerged as a team to beat in his recruitment. Robinson was a part of a 2020 recruiting class that finished 14th in the nation that year in the Rivals.com rankings, and what turned out to be the final full recruiting class for Tom Herman. A few years later, and there's not a ton of meat on the bone with respects to the elite prospects from that year outside of Robinson. Jake Majors and Jaron Thompson remain as a few of the higher ranked players in that class, but it's actually 2 of the lower ranked prospects in the class, Jahdae Barron and Jalen Ford, that have made the biggest impact as the class begins to wrap up its contribution to the Texas football program.
I must admit, I've got a blinking problem. Oh, sorry, we're back. House Divided. It is Jeff Ketchum. It is Chad Hastings. It is Thursday. We're 16 days away from Texas and Rice. Brian Jones is coming up. I see over 300 folks, up around 320 right now joining us. We appreciate it. Call your friends. Tell them Brian Jones is coming up. He will defend picking Texas to go to the college football playoff. And Catch, the interesting thing to me for Brian is Brian's not a homer. For people that don't know, right? For people that don't know Brian Jones, he will say it like he believes it. He is not trying to wear those burnt orange glasses all the time. He's very honest about his foot. He loves his Longhorns, The guys at CBS love to watch Brian watch Texas games because it's apparently the most entertaining thing ever. He screams, yells, and swears and throws stuff. But he tells it like he sees it. So he's picking Georgia, Michigan, USC, and Texas. He will tell us why coming up at 1:20. All right, you ready for a little buy or sell, Catch? Who goes first?
I'll go first today.
Hit it.
Buy or sell number one. The most interesting Texas training camp battle for you is the one taking place at running back.
Absolutely. Buy. Big capital B, buy, because deep down, Sark knows he needs a guy he can count on first. There's no, I like a committee discussion, but I don't think there are rarely those true, like, two guys that get a ton of carries. We talked about Javonte Williams yesterday with Mac in North Carolina. Those guys were two backs that got a ton of yards. Both of them got 1,000. That's not Steve Sarkisian. He's not going two guys at 1,000. I guess he would if he could, but that is not what this group feels like. So yes, I want to know who takes that over. I'm reading Orangebloods practice reports, which all of you should be as well, that CJ Baxter is looking better and better and better. Is he the guy? Is it Brooks? Who is the guy that's going to step up and be the guy? Yeah, I'm fascinated to find out.
Buy or sell number two, bread is overrated.
I'm going to sell. Now, for me, who in the last few years has tried to lose a little weight and maintain it, bread is dangerous. Bread is evil in a way. Like Julia Roberts said in Heartbreakers, sometimes I don't eat bread, I just dream about bread. But overrated? No, sell, because I love a good sandwich and the bread can be key. I just have to stay away most of the time.
I've got into this phase where whether it's a hamburger, whether it's a sandwich, whether it's a sub, I stop eating. I just get about halfway through it. I don't want the bread anymore. I just eat the inside of whatever's going on.
Most of the time I do the same thing, but it's about the weight loss thing for me. I do love me some bread.
Like today I had like a half of a Jersey Mike's sub.
Yes.
And the bread's perfectly fine. It's not like they've got bad bread. This is
they got good bread.
Thing that's happening. I'm finding myself not liking bread.
In fact, Ketch, when you just said the word bread and I read the word bread, I started to get little itches. Like I really was like scratching my own legs. Like when you said bread, I got excited.
I thought you were going to tell me you got an erection.
That's how much I did.
Completely confused at that point.
Why would I ever say that on House Divided? Trust me, that's something I will never be reporting on this show.
Okay, I don't know.
Oh my God.
You were excited. You were getting the warm and fuzzies. I didn't know what was going on over there.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, move on. Buy or sell. Number three, prime versus prime. Cowboys running backs. Zeke Elliott in his Cowboys prime, better than DeMarco Murray in his Cowboys prime.
Yeah, let's not get silly. Sell. I'll go DeMarco Murray. Prime and prime, I'm going DeMarco Murray. I thought he was more of a complete running back than Zeke.
What position do you think I'll take on that?
I'm assuming you'll agree with me and take Murray.
You're correct.
Okay, just checking.
I mean, Zeke's got such much better career stats.
Right, but
it's at the absolute peak.
That's what I'm saying. Absolute peak, and it's 3rd and 3, and I got to have it, and it's going to them. I want it to go to Murray.
You know, sometimes, well, yes, I'm with you. It felt like at his peak, DeMarco Murray was sensational.
Because in 2014, the play everybody likes to talk about with Dez Bryant, it ain't DeMarco Murray's fault that they rushed that situation and chunked it 90 yards down the field on 4th and 1.5. That ain't DeMarco's fault.
Buy or sell number 4. Mike Schmidt is the greatest third baseman of all time, but for your money, you're more of a George Brett guy.
This is such a catch, buy or sell. No one else on earth would have put that one together that way. Greatest third. You know what? For you, yeah, I'll say buy. Definitely more of a George Brett guy. The story of him pooping his pants in Vegas is still one of my favorites. I revisit it every birthday he has. If you haven't listened to it, you got to go look that up. But yeah, I'll put Mike Schmidt above him, certainly on the all-time list. And I never saw Brooks Robinson play because I'm too young. So yeah, I'll go with Schmidt. Bye.
Brooks Robinson wears Mike Schmidt underwear. Buy or sell number 5. Brian Jones will curse on the show today.
Oh, buy. God, I hope so. Please, please, please. If nothing else, we need to just throw a quick James Lipton at him. Brian, what's your favorite swear? I mean, let's just, we need to do, I would love to hear it because all those years when Brian had to contain himself on radio, that's one of the main reasons I'm really happy about this format, that Brian can be a little more free with the people.
Well, it was Peter, right, that showed up this week. It was like, shit this and bullshit. And I was like, man.
Oh, Peter Burns.
Man of the people.
Peter Burns was enjoying his shit takes. Let me rephrase that. His being able to say the word. Yes. All right, here we go. Buy or sell number 1 catch. Today is Belinda Carlisle's birthday. In their prime, you'd rather see the Go-Go's than the Bengals.
Sell.
Ooh, really?
I think I would go Bengals because the lead singer, what was her name?
Susanna Hoffs.
Yes, so attractive.
Interesting. That is absolutely.
I wouldn't mind just going to the front of the stage and like just staring at her.
That is one of the silliest things I've ever heard musically, but I understand where you're going. I would have gone Go-Go's there.
I had to explain it to you.
No, you did. Yeah, the music snob in me says Go-Go's, but I get why. And you explained the Bengals thing perfectly. All right. Buy or sell number 2. Micah Parsons scrapping with Tyler Biotish is fine by you. Nobody got hurt. Iron sharpens iron.
Bye.
No.
We let them fight in hockey under the guise of you got to let these guys blow off steam every once in a while. I think that's true in football as well. These guys they're professionals, so they got to know that there's a limit to what it is that can take place. I mean, you don't want to end up in jail. You don't want to B, hurt yourself. C, you don't want to hurt the other guy.
Right.
But beyond that, a good body slam, a punch upside the head, as long as you're not breaking any bones, I'm okay with that.
Here's all I know. Both those dudes are really tough. I wouldn't mess with either one of them, but I bet Tyler Biotish goes to bed tonight thinking, man, I'm glad he didn't hit me with either one of those punches, because Parsons threw a couple of haymakers that did not land. Thank God he didn't hit him with it. All right, Catch. Buy or sell number 3. Today is John Gruden's 60th birthday, and he will be a head coach in the NFL again by the time he turns 65.
Sell, he's done. And I thought you were going to ask he's going to be the head coach of the University of Texas. Because back in the day, that was a thing for a couple of days.
Nope.
Old Red.
Tennessee
Red wanted that to happen, Chad.
I know. Lots of people did. Tennessee would have been cuter, right? Supposedly John has connections in Knoxville, too.
Right about the time the John Gruden, Red McCombs thing happened, that was when Charlie Strong, the report broke. And it was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it won't be John Gruden.
Not going to be Gruden. All right, Catch, here's where you get to be disappointed in me. Buy or sell number 4. Today is Robert De Niro's 80th birthday. I have not seen A Bronx Tale, as you know, Raging Bull, or The Deer Hunter. I should watch Raging Bull first.
Sell. Deer Hunter's an all-timer. And so is Raging Bull. But if Raging Bull's on TV, I don't stop to watch it.
Okay.
Deer Hunter's on TV. Oh, man.
And don't I also get Christopher Walken in The Deer Hunter?
Oh, yeah. Maybe the greatest Christopher Walken performance that ever existed.
Okay, that's one I got to check out. All right, and finally, Catch, buy or sell. By the end of the Wyoming game on September 16th, Malik and Arch will both have mop-up duty snaps.
Oh, buy. I think it's going to happen in Rice.
For both.
I think that's a game where Texas is up by 5 scores in the third quarter, and I think you get to about the 5-minute mark in the third quarter. Let's say Quinn's got himself 3 or 4 touchdown passes. I think Malik comes in. I think he runs the offense. A lot of handing off, but by and large, he'll get a few passes. And then I think with about 6 or 7 minutes left to go, they'll put Arch in. And Arch will mostly just hand the ball off. But I think on a third down, Arch will let it rip. And I don't know what happens, but he'll at least have 1 pass attempt.
Gotcha. One of our chatters is agreeing with you, Ketch, that Deer Hunter is the one that I should see first. Happy 80 to Robert De Niro. A lot of big dogs turning 80 recently on the birthday list, and John Gruden is 60 today, if that makes you feel old. Also, it's Christian Laettner's birthday for all those haters out there. Christian Laettner, 54. And if you've never seen I Hate Christian Laettner, the 30 for 30, it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. That's how we do buy or sell, often imitated, never duplicated. We always enjoy that to start a 1 o'clock hour today. We're like 10 or 11 shows into this thing. I usually don't count individual episodes, but we're at like episode 10 or 11 today. Is that right?
I think it's 10th or 11th. Yeah, I don't know, because we started on a Wednesday.
Started on a Wednesday,
so it's 11.
5 is 8, plus we're at 11 today, right? Today's 12.
Blake says 12.
Done 11, today's 12. We're at the dozen mark today. Fantastic. We thank everybody for being with us for House Divided and lots of good stuff with Texas football. We are 16 days away. Brian Jones is coming up in just a couple of minutes. Can't wait for that. By the way, Ketch, NFL game tonight if you want it. Cleveland and Philly. NFL Network, 6:30.
I'm good.
Are we about to see if the dress rehearsal exists anymore? It is this week. This is the next to last preseason game. I'm just letting everybody know.
Exists anymore.
If you get any taste of Deshaun Watson v. Jalen Hurts, it would be tonight a little bit. Like you might get it for a smidge.
I got to be honest. I'm still at this point with Deshaun Watson where he still rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
I can't even finish the sentence.
Mm-hmm. See, I was going to try to work mine back around into a Deshaun Watson joke, but you just right there, man.
I botched the punchline. Like I got in the middle of it, and then I made myself laugh.
Boy, I just laid that one out on a table with a hole in it, didn't I? For you, my goodness, with a face hole.
Hey, while we wait for BJ, let me tell you my hottest. And if he shows up, like I'll stop my thought. Mm-hmm. Hottest Texas game ever. Texas v. Colorado, 1994, the Rashaan Salam game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was in my first year in college. So I graduated high school in 94. I'm working in the Texas SID office that fall. I had to wear a suit. And there was me and this guy named Greg Schiller. Mm-hmm. And we both are down on the field in the first quarter. And Lynn Swann is there, and he is so unhappy. He's got the thermometer in his hands to show the crowd, and it's 145 degrees.
Oh, my God.
And I got the call from above in the press box that one of me or Greg Schiller needed to come up to the press box.
Wow. Gee,
I did not tell Greg Schiller. I just up. They need me. I went up. At the end of the game, Greg Schiller comes up like in the fourth quarter. His entire suit was soaked with sweat. He literally was able to squeeze the arm of his jacket, and sweat was like dripping out of it. The Astro. I'm sure Brian knows, man. We'll bring Brian Jones in right now from CBS Sports. He's waiting. He's beautiful. Got that top 4 prediction ready to go.
Look at that sexy man right there.
He's laughing like Santa Claus with that beard. If we mixed the two of us together, we would have Santa Claus.
Listen, first of all, whose idea was to put you two back together again? Match made in heaven, right?
That's right. Yes. Dead. It's Jeff's fault.
Brian, I wanted to ask you, because you would have played in those old AstroTurf days in the NFL and in college. Do you remember one day more than any other where you felt like your feet were going to catch on fire?
Yes, there's a particular day at UT, and it was about 150 degrees on that turf. Oof. And those old rubber soles we were wearing, those Nikes, man, they were melting. And I'll never forget something old Kenneth Sims said to me when it's hot. He said he had a coach that said, "Don't tell the man next to you it's hot. He might not know it." And if you didn't know it was hot on that particular day, you were dead. It was it was, man, it was blistering hot. It was crazy. It was just nuts. So yeah, and I hated that turf, and the steam would rise from it, and of course you had all the bacteria that had built up in those bad boys, and you get those strawberries. But yeah, I do not miss playing on artificial turf one iota, not at all.
Yeah, that's just brutal.
Brian, what I was trying to tell people, we had this conversation, and they talk about the hottest days that they can remember going to games. And I just feel like there's a completely different section for AstroTurf days that you just can't compare it to any day, any temperature where there's grass or something not AstroTurf.
100%. And add to the mix, you're out there and you got back then, because it's evolved the equipment, you got 20 pounds of equipment on. This big old helmet was heavy. It's still heavy. And just imagine running around with that bad boy on and those big old shoulder pads we wore back then. And now you look at the pads, they're so light. It's really, you're out there wearing pretty much nothing. I'd love to play today with the equipment and the evolution of that said equipment. But yeah, you tack on the tonnage of equipment, and that coupled with the heat, and somehow we were conditioned to get through it and fight through it, and so that's what we did.
Because everybody was tougher back then, Brian Jones. That's why. These kids aren't tough.
Boys.
Come on now. Come on. We're talking with Brian Jones. Sexy Lovey Smith himself is joining us. You see him on CBS. You're going to check him out all season long. Brian, real quick, since we're in this format, Ketch asked me, gave me a buy or sell that you were going to swear, and I said, I certainly hope so. Officially for the people, what is your favorite swear word on this Thursday?
Well, Ketch, and I guess it's a good thing, my now new bride has really helped me grow in that area.
She tamed the lion.
My favorite swear word is MF, because you can be a good one, a bad one, a sorry one, an ugly one, a pretty one, a slimy one, all those. So that's my favorite. But she shamed me on the golf course. I got her into golf, and she didn't want to play with me anymore after 2 rounds, because she saw me throwing all these spits and uttering all these bad words during my tantrums. And she shamed me, man. And it I was taken aback, and I had to address some things. I said, okay. So long story short, the last 3 golf outings, I have maybe uttered 2 curse words. And I'm a horrible golfer, but I love it. I go out there and I take the pain, but I'm a horrible golfer. And thanks to Miss Bonnie, I've only cursed maybe twice. And truth be told, it's more enjoyable. It is so much more enjoyable. So now I've turned into Chad. Gosh darn it. Golly gee.
No, I don't know who you're talking about. You know what it was like during the
I have
break.
ever heard. Brian Jones, Chad. Gee golly.
What the hell are we doing? Wait a minute. You're okay. So I am so glad that you are happily married now. This woman has got you calling her miss. She's taking the swear words out of you. That's a hell of a woman, Brian Jones.
That's what it took.
So you can't even give us one right now. She'd be mad at you if you gave us one right now.
Hold on.
I mean, he's about to go close the door. This is breaking news. Okay, come on. Close the door. You can whisper it if you need to. Just give me one. Give me one MF, Brian Jones. Come on.
Chad, you motherfucker. You trying to get me in trouble?
That's what I'm talking about.
Brian,
Don't be afraid
the
of the language,
inverse of
Mr.
this.
Jones.
My wife claims that I am the reason why she curses so much today. It's reverse. You got to learn how to flip it.
That's the key question, Brian. Does your wife now say MF all the time because of you?
No way, no how. Every now and then she may utter one, but no. I've heard her curse maybe twice.
Wow.
And I obviously take note, like, whoa, what's going on? But no, man, none of that. But I'm gonna take your advice, Jeff. You gotta flip it. So I'm gonna see if I can.
You gotta reverse it.
You
gotta whip those curse words.
Don't be whip that. Look, bang, bang, bang.
Exactly. You have to coordinate too. We got to coordinate later.
I used to get that a lot, man. And I actually, when I was doing my CBS Sports radio show with Greg Giannotti, we actually had John Witherspoon, the late John Witherspoon, come in one morning and sat down with us, man. It was a treat. And I used to think before I grew my beard that they said that was my doppelganger. A lot of people said I resembled him. So the first question I asked him when he came in, I said, "Are you my daddy?" from then on, as you might imagine, it was a wonderful interview. He was such a joy and a treat to be around and enjoy his comedy.
That's fantastic. All right, let's dig into this Texas stuff, Brian.
Wait, hold on, mofo.
Okay. Sorry.
How many damn helmets do you have?
We have a few.
We outnumbered, man.
We have a few. See, unlike you, you wore all those helmets in actual games. I can only dream of it. So I have the dream wall of helmets behind me. I never wore any of them.
Okay. Yeah, you got everybody represented.
I got a few. I got you Texas and Rice. You know, I got you ready to go right over here for week 1.
He's literally matching the helmets up based on who plays whom on the schedule.
Yeah, look, we got Texas and Rice. We got Florida State and LSU ready to go.
I got you.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately for those,
I don't see Utah matched up with the Gators.
Yeah, I don't have a Utah helmet. The people are going to help me out on some of them. I don't have every one of them yet. Don't have every one.
Okay.
Yeah. And for those Alabama fans, I'm sorry I don't have Murray State or whoever the hell y'all are starting with this year. Jeez. All right. So, Brian, we told everybody when it happened. In fact, I think we were on doing the show when maybe it got out that you had picked Texas, and I hit you up that day. I'm like, oh my God, Brian's picking Texas for the playoff. So you and I think Danny Cannell at CBS.
Yeah, Danny surprised me. We were on the set about to take that segment, and he said, I'm going there as well. I was like, wow, give me a hug, baby. And you're right in your tweet. I'm no homer because I remember all the grief I received when I said a couple years ago Texas was heading to Arkansas, that Arkansas was going to beat that booty. And that's exactly what they did. The reason I made that prediction is because, as I said in my retort to you, Mr. Ketch, the dudes are there. The man has remade this roster. And what was one of the first quotes Sark said when he took over? This roster is not constructed in a manner in which I would have constructed. And he has reshaped that roster. They have recruited just incredibly well. They're top 3, top 5 each and every year now in these recruiting rankings. And I recall asking Kyle Flood a couple years ago after he brought in all those O-linemen. What do you have? 6 4- and 5-star offensive linemen, 2 of which played a season ago. And he said he had some good clay to mold. And so there's still some work in progress, but all the dudes are there to win the Big 12. And this is Texas. And if Texas goes out and they win all those one-loss games they lost to last year, and every game they lost was a one-loss defeat. The overtime versus Texas Tech and the bowl game, all those were one-loss defeats. They flipped that, Jeff. They need to flip that. And they need to win those games. I don't see them going the way of Nebraska, who's lost, 20-something one-score games. They just need to flip what they did a season ago. They have the experience now in that offensive line. Quarterback can get right. I don't know what was going on in his head after Ewers came back from the injury, but all the reports I'm hearing, he's back to doing what he showcased in that Alabama game early on. Receivers galore. I'll give you a heads up. I'm going back to New York, do some preview shows. I'm picking Texas as the best receiving corps. I mean, with that tight end, Sanders, who's a freak, of course, Worthy, and now Mitchell, and my man Jordan Whittington. I mean, they got all the pieces. And what's the kid from Wyoming? Nair.
Yep.
They've got the pieces if they stay healthy. That's always, a caveat. They have to stay healthy. offensively, the pieces are there. The firepower is there. Even the running backs. They're going to probably go running back by committee. Fine. Open up some holes. Defensively, I said early on this spring or after spring, I just need to see a consistent pass rush. Someone has to emerge in that space, and it may be that 88 kid, the Sorrell kid. It may be the kid they recruited a couple years ago out of Alabama. I think he wears number 1. Someone has to emerge there as a legitimate pass rusher, so you don't always have to dial up the blitzes. Linebacker, you know what you have there, and I love if Catalan can stay healthy. If Jalen Catalan, the transfer from Arkansas can stay healthy, because I've been on his bandwagon since he was a freshman at Arkansas, because he will knock you know what in the dirt. This dude is a banger, and maybe that's why he's always banged up. But he brings the heat, man, and he's smart back there. And if he can stay healthy and all the other pieces around him, I think they have what's necessary, what's needed to win the Big 12. And if they win the Big 12 and they be in Texas, they're going to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, he's got shoulder issues. Surprise. Jalen Catalan, he does like to hit, and it does come at a price. Talking to Brian Jones here on House Divided on the Orangebloods live channel. Brian, I find myself pausing a little bit with this Texas team. I'm waiting on Quinn Ewers to take that step. And while I think he does take a step forward, I still wonder in the biggest moments with the most amount of pressure. Then again, we saw him play his best football against Oklahoma and Alabama. So it's a weird little conundrum in how he's developing. And then you've got Sarkisian, who has never won 9 regular season games in a row. So there's a level of winning and leading a team this season that will be at the highest level he's ever been at if they get there. Do one of those two people worry you more than the other as they start climbing the ladder of can they get to a level like that? Are they really ready for it?
Such as you, I experienced some cognitive dissonance as well when I was getting ready for last week's show and putting my thoughts to paper. That worries me is yours, but you're correct. We got a small sample of this guy being lights out. He was phenomenal in that Alabama game prior to going down, of course. And we saw bits and pieces of that the rest of the way when he returned from injury. Of course, not enough. He wasn't consistent at all. That doesn't concern me. What's going to concern me is coaching staff now. It's up to them. And I have a ton of faith in Sark calling plays. There was a play in that TCU game, and Chad and I discussed it, where Ewers didn't see Bijan Robinson over there on the little wheel route, wide open, man. That game turns out differently. We could go through film all 5 losses of the season ago, and you can pick certain plays that were there that your quarterback didn't see. But we're crying over spilled milk. I think he sees those things a lot better this year. I have faith that he will see those things a lot better this year and have a better understanding of this offense than he had a season ago. And he'll be more consistent. Just understand, dude, I don't have to be, Troy Aikman. I don't have to be a Hall of Fame quarterback each and every play. You got enough playmakers around you. Stay within yourself and the scheme. And if that offensive line can hold up, he's going to pick everyone apart. They have enough pieces at the receiver position, as I've already stated. If they can give me 3 seconds, man, that's all I need. Give me my 3 seconds. As Randy Cross would say, that first 3 seconds is on us. That after that, it's on you, Joe Montana. give me 3 seconds. That's all any great quarterback should ask for. And so if they can keep him upright, and I think he will show what we witnessed in his first iteration versus Alabama. So that was a little concern. More of a concern, Ketch, would be depth on the defensive side of the ball. I need those guys, if you can roll in, some reserves, give your starters a break every now and then and not decrease in your productivity, that's when you're cooking with gas. So that would be more of a concern.
Talking with Brian Jones from CBS Sports, spitting out words like cognitive dissonance. That tells you, kids, if you take the dirty words out of your language, some big old clean ones show up. I mean, big, clean ones.
That's my man Mikey in Longview said that's some $5 words.
Dude, cognitive dissonance. That was fantastic. Hey, so Brian, I think if I'm a Texas fan today, I don't know if cognitive dissonance is maybe the way to describe it, but I know they're thinking about Tuscaloosa on September the 9th. Give us your assessment of that game right now. Hopefully we'll get a chance to obviously talk to you as we build up towards it, but give me your thought on the game. Would you pick Texas to be in it, maybe win the thing? Give us your sense of where Alabama you think will be on September 9th.
I think it's going to be an even fight. And going into last game, none of us thought it was going to be an even fight. We had no idea that game would come down to Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner, just doing what Heisman Trophy winners do, and saving the day for Alabama and getting in position for a game-winning field goal. A couple calls go their way, it's different. But I tell you what, it's going to be more of an even fight. There are more questions at quarterback at Alabama than there are at the University of Texas. Defensively, losing Will Anderson Jr., but you have Dallas Turner returning. He's a heck of a player. You got to block that dude. I just think Texas has what it takes. They've been out there with them now, and they've shown on their home field. This will be a totally different environment. I've been to Bryant-Denny a couple times, dude. That joint's going to be – that's big-time ball. That's big-time ball. So they'll get a feel for that. But what's the line now? 7, I believe. It's down.
Not bad.
7. I think Texas has as good a chance to win as Alabama has to win. We'll see what happens with this quarterback position. We'll see if Texas can put some heat on whoever's playing. Was Buckner or if it's Milroe. And Milroe's he's similar to that cat we had, that Malik Murphy. This dude can move. That's Arkansas when he was thrust into action a season ago. He can move. So he's a hell of a talent. You got to corral him. He's got some wheels from a passing standpoint. Still a work in progress, but the wheels are there. He's definitely a threat if you can't keep him in that pocket. So I'm anxious to see at Alabama because the defense hasn't been as dominant as they were in the past. Anxious to see who steps up on that defensive line. Of course, you got Kool-Aid McKinstry in that secondary, and that's going to be – these are going to be first-round battles for these guys going up against that secondary and the receiving core at Texas. And Mitchell's gone up against them, of course, playing at Georgia. So I think it's an even fight, man. They've got just as good a chance if they go in there, don't get just blown away by the atmosphere and all the pageantry and pomp and circumstance of playing at Alabama. They can win now, but it's going to be a huge barometer of where this team is. That's going to be a huge step. Can they finish the drill and get a W this time, unlike a season ago?
Brian, much to Chad's chagrin, I am not going to ask about the Aggies right now because I don't know how much more time we have. And Chad told a story earlier. Mm-hmm. I have said on this show before that back during the Mac days when I was younger, Mac had this ability that when he would get mad at me, he would try to make me feel bad, like he was my father and I was his son and I had let him down in some way and whatever it was that he was mad about. And then earlier today, I can't even remember the context that it came up, but I said 50-7, the Baylor game from 1989. And Chad claims that Mac threw that in your face.
Oh, yeah. That was one of.
And let's be clear, Brian Jones, this is something you've discussed before, like on the radio, and I believe even on television. I'm not putting out your secrets, am I?
No. We had said a long time ago. That was one of my many meetings in the head coach's office where I had to look around and make sure there was no plastic on the floor, thinking I was about to get whacked. Oh my goodness! Yeah. Let me say. You beat Baylor. No, I'm sorry. Baylor beat you 50-7. Let me see. You lost to TCU. You lost it. Oh man, that was brutal. That one was rough. Yeah, 50-7. They got us, and even brought up the Cotton Bowl. Let's see, lost Miami 46-3. Chad will tell you, I ain't one to toe the company line. And they weren't paying me enough to toe the company line. But that's water under the bridge. That cat is doing some good work at UNC. He's got a hell of a quarterback in Drake May. If he can shore up his offensive line, they could be in the thick of that ACC race. But, yeah, so you brought that up to say what, Ketch?
Well, because I always was in trouble with Mac.
Well,
now the 50-7. I
who
think
was it?
we were talking about the coldest games that we'd ever been to, and I mentioned that the 1988 game in Waco, it was like a 40-mile-an-hour wind, and at one point they kicked off. Baylor did, and the ball went straight up into the air, and then it came down, and they recovered it for an onside kick, and it was just – and somehow the other game came up.
Yeah. Well, that 88 game, I was my redshirt year.
Yes.
So I didn't have to brave the elements for that particular game. But I do recall watching that back in Austin and somewhat happy I didn't have to go.
Yeah. You were lucky.
Yeah. The dog 50-7, but I wasn't. I was out there participating in that ball game. But that one really helped. Actually, I think the next week was the A&M game. That's when we had the big fist fight in the middle of the field there in College Station. So that really was our low point, losing it in that manner. And that was a sad afternoon. And that helped propel us to wanting to change everything about that program going into that offseason. And that's exactly what we did.
1990 probably doesn't happen without 1989?
No doubt it doesn't happen. Because remember, if you recall, and we beat Oklahoma. I think we may have beaten Arkansas prior, and then we beat Oklahoma. We're riding high. We have the one loss, or maybe two losses at that time. It was Colorado and Penn State had beaten us at that juncture. So we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. I think we may have beaten TCU at home, and then Tech comes in and we have them beat, and then you give up the big 3rd and 30 pass that goes for a touchdown. So we were feeling good about ourselves, and then the Tech game, and we had a precipitous fall following that ball game. We just couldn't get right, couldn't get out of the way. Houston blasted us in the Astrodome, and then, of course, Baylor did what they did, and it just went downhill. From there, we lost to A&M that last game. We actually put up a good fight. Aggies there on their home field, but still ended up losing that ball game. But you're correct. 90 does not happen without those butt whippings we took in 89.
Steven on our chat says, Brian, that beard is something fierce.
Miss Bonnie, this is my off-season look. Miss Bonnie said she liked it, so I didn't cut it off heading into the last season. And I'm keeping it again, man. I'm digging it. I like it.
Hey, happy wife, happy life. Brian knows that one.
Ain't that the truth? I
That
didn't learn that at first, man.
Hey, sometimes you got to learn, the
hard way. Chad, no, I'm hard-headed.
It's a progress thing. Real quick, Brian, let me fit this in. We can save my Aggies for another time. All three of us are Cowboys fans. You and Ketch have a similarity to me that you guys both work in college football so closely, but I feel like both of you use your Cowboy fandom just to be a fan. You just get to kind of sit back and really soak it in. Give me your Cowboy thoughts. How far do you think they can go? How much you believe in the whole Mike McCarthy calling plays thing?
I don't care who calls plays. We got to believe in Dak. And I'm not there. I don't think he can get him there. I've told you, my hierarchy of Cowboy quarterbacks, Staubach, Aikman, Danny White. And then I may put Glenn Carano ahead of Tony Romo. Just because of what he did on Thanksgiving versus Washington. Listen, I'm not a fan. I just say that. I am not a fan. He talks too damn much. Just go play. He tries too hard to be the right person and say the right thing. The hell with all that, man. Just go ball. Go ball. Quit towing company line and just go ball. Everyone doesn't have to like you in that locker room. And who was it who was just cussing him out? His teammate was calling him all types of names. What other starting quarterback in the league that has been a starter as long as he has such as, I think it was the DB was cursing him out. You don't do that to your starting quarterback. No, man. I don't think there's a lot of respect for him in there. And until I see it, I don't think he can take us to the promised land.
Yeah. Ketch, you got something real quick?
I was just thinking, I haven't seen any of the Jets players on Hard Knocks curse out Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. That's what I thought. The first thing I thought was, I wonder if in the prime of the Patriots run, if somebody does that to Tom Brady at practice, what happens?
I remember me being a Yankees fan. I forget the player. There was some player that got in it with Derek Jeter. Next day, gone. You don't do that to the captain, man. And he wasn't even the captain then, but he'd already proven his worth and was a significant part of that club. There's just certain players you don't do that. And to disrespect your quarterback, I don't care how angry you are. You say it under your breath, and I don't care how good a player you are. And Diggs is a hell of a player. But you don't say that to your starting quarterback, a guy who's been there as long as he has. And that right there was the indication of the lack of respect in that locker room for him.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Brian Jones. I love a lot of things in this world. More than Brian Jones, it's not a long list. It's a list. It's not a long though. There's things before Brian, but there's not a lot of things before Brian. Oh my God, I'm so excited. If you're on Twitter at Jones and Famo, check him out on CBS. Now, Brian, can we put you down for a Thursday appointment? Can we put you down for one of those?
Let's do it. There may be some adjustments, as you know, depending on my schedule, but put it down. Let's do it.
Okay, and tell your lovely wife I'm going to need one per week, one swear word a week. You will call me that swear word, and then we'll move on. How about that?
Thank you. Because sometimes I need to get it out.
Right.
Thank you.
And you've been swearing at me for years. You've been calling me names for years. I can take that.
This is therapy, so I need my therapy session every Thursday with you two.
There you go. I love you, man. Take care. We'll talk to you next week.
Love you, man. Congrats on the show. Good to see you, Ketch.
There he is, Brian Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Sexy Lovey Smith. Always good, Ketch. That's awesome.
I have myself muted because the cleaners are here and they're vacuuming.
Okay.
They're done.
Fair enough. Oh, my
I had
God.
to mute myself. I was like, it happens.
By the way, here's something I didn't even think about until I saw Brian set up with the big helmets in the back. And yes, folks did notice Brian's got the regular big helmets. Chad's got the mini helmets. Yes, exactly.
I didn't realize until just now that those are all mini helmets.
Oh, yeah, mine. No, I don't have any. No, I have a couple real helmets in the house, like in a different place. But yeah, I don't have any standard size helmets.
Those are all mini helmets.
Everything behind me right now is mini helmets. Correct.
I'm going to buy you some mini helmets.
Oh, I would appreciate it. Some of these mini helmets are from people. Old School Oregon, that came from a listener. My Notre Dame helmet came from a listener. Old School Rice, I believe it's from my man Clayton the Collector, who had it just sitting in his house. He said, "Hey, would you want this?" And I almost passed out when he sent it to me. It was incredible. So, yeah, listeners have given me helmets, and I appreciate it very, very much. In fact, if a listener wants to help me with that Oklahoma thing so I don't have to buy one, that'd be nice. Like old school, like the thin OU Keith Jackson style from the Switzer era. If somebody could help me out with that, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
Real quick, now that you said it, can I just tell you? I'll tell you what, when we come back,
okay,
before we do, because we got to take a break. It's been like an hour.
Yes.
When we come back, I want to tell you my favorite Barry Switzer story before we get into the crap bag.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
Favorite Barry Switzer story. It's a doozy.
Favorite Barry Switzer story from Ketch. And then after that, we're going to talk about what Deion Sanders, you'll hear the sound of Deion Sanders, what he yelled at his team that everybody's going to be talking about the next couple days. Don't move. House divided. Orangebloods live.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on the player generally considered to be the greatest Longhorn football player of all time. Vince Young was a five-star prospect by rivals when he signed with the Longhorns in 2002, finishing as the #1 overall player in the nation. 20-plus years later, the two things that stand out the most about Young's recruitment was how much ground the Longhorns made up in a blink of an eye. Weeks before his senior season began in 2001, his mother reported that Texas was out. Quote, "We ruled out Texas as Vincent has decided that he probably won't stay in the state of Texas to play in college," Miss Young said. In just a matter of months following that statement by his mom, Vince Young was pretty much wrapped up to go to Texas. The other thing that stands out about Young's recruitment was just how big he was in the city of Houston. I went to a playoff game with Madison against Hightower in the Astrodome, and opposing fans were jumping up in the stands over the excitement that Young was creating. I wrote for Orangebloods.com at the time, quote, "At that point, the Astrodome crowd started to go crazy. People in the Hightower section were high-fiving each other, laughing, and screaming in amazement," end quote. It was unlike anything I've ever seen before or since. On the day he committed to the Longhorns in January, Vince said, quote, "There's a lot of love down there at Texas, and that's what I was looking for before I visited. They made my mom smile, and that's all I needed to see. I committed to them this afternoon." Young was the bell cow of a 2002 recruiting class that was ranked first in the nation and is regarded as one of the best in the history of the school. That class signed 6 5-star prospects, which also included Justin Blaylock and Roderick Wright. Ultimately, Young's class was the foundation of the 2005 national championship team.
House divided on a Thursday. Thanks again to Brian Jones of CBS Sports for his time. We're going to try to do that every Thursday as we are getting into the season, get Brian's thoughts on everything. Remember, last season for the SEC and CBS, before Texas goes into the SEC with Oklahoma the following year. That was a lot of fun talking to Brian, some good thoughts. And again, he's picking Texas to go to the playoff, Catch, and he explained his reasoning why. If it happens the way he's thinking, I can see that logic. He's not the only one.
I just wonder if he talked himself out of it there at the end as he started to go through
Right.
the list. I'm worried about the pass rush, and I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about that. And those worries are why I'm on slightly different scale. We have the same worries.
Right.
He thinks Texas is just going to plow through them. Fair enough. I'm a little more like, I need to see it first. I hope he's right. Oh, my God, I hope he's right.
Hey, I always say Texas fans are realistic. Sometimes they're too realistic, and that's where Brian got at the end of it in the comments, because he's laying it all out there. He's hoping, but he knows what he's seen too. In midway through a season, midway through games with this coaching staff, need to see things change a little bit. He thinks we will.
All right, so here's my Barry Switzer story.
All right, hit me.
And by the way, we've got Dustin McComas coming up in like 30 minutes. Me, McComas, and Chad have not done a segment of radio together.
True.
In over a decade.
I've done a segment with each of you in that time period. I've had you both on as a guest. I'm sure you and Dustin have done something. We had the three of us, though. That's going to be fun.
AT won't see any of us in therapy.
No.
So Barry Switzer, I haven't told this story in a long time, but when the Cowboys did training camp in Austin and he was the Cowboys head coach, we just had kind of this mantra at KI42 with Andy Lascano that we would never do content or a sports segment that ever looked like anything anybody else ever did, that you were going to get something different on our sports station, our sportscast. So he had this idea of like at Cowboys training camp, and boy, the access that the media used to have back then is wild. We used to do this segment called Ask the Cowboy. And it was where we would grab like 3 to 5 fans out of the stands onto the field, and they could ask a Cowboy anything they wanted, any question that they wanted.
Okay.
Somehow Barry Switzer agreed. The head coach of the Dallas Cowboys was like, sure, I'll answer some questions and do some one-on-one. So we had these guys. There was this one guy, heavyset fellow, could have passed for Nate Newton's brother. And Barry Switzer started rubbing on his stomach like he was a Buddha.
What?
He was rubbing his belly, and he wished for the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl, and they did.
Wow. Okay.
He was like, look at this big fella. He can line up for us right now and play offensive guard for us. just hamming it up. Some little girl asked him for his favorite lake in Oklahoma to fish in. Oh, and then Switzer was like one by one going through every single lake in the state that he'd ever caught a fish in.
Oh, man.
Say what you want to about Barry Switzer, and there are a million things that you can say about the bootlegger boy, but he got a little Billy Lucci in him, in that if you spend 5 minutes around him, you kind of forget the things that you convince yourself that you hate him about, right? Like, oh, always hyping up the Aggies, or, oh, he always used to beat the Longhorns. Spend 5 minutes with that guy, and he would win you over, Mr. Charisma. I mean, I'm trying to imagine an NFL coach today doing what I just described, rubbing another man's belly on camera and like having absolutely zero filter at all. Like, he is who he is. And while he made the Cowboys worse from Jimmy Johnson, while we weren't ever quite as good under Barry as we ever were in those years before, part of me loved that man because of like how willing he was to just be a good dude and do something because somebody asked him to.
That's funny. When I think of Switzer, like some of my other impersonations, I'm doing the impersonation of somebody else's, but in working with Bill Schoening early in the day, Bill Schoening, and to an extension, Craig Way as well, when they would talk about Barry Switzer, they would just start doing these really quick 1 or 2 word things. And it was always just speed, quickness, Uzis, cheerleaders. And then they'd end with like a baby, something like that. That's all they did for Barry Switzer.
They did the segment with sex with an assistant coach's wife.
He was, well, they did, well, you know, sex with a woman that's not really in my house. All right. No. Yeah. No,
Oops.
Stuff like
and
that.
Hey, it says something that he's so charismatic that could happen, and that coach would stay with him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and that coach came to work after that.
He was like, I love the man, even if my wife apparently also does.
Right. He just walked in and went, so offensive game plan day or defensive game plan day? Which is it? Yeah. All right. We are
part of the story. It's unavoidable.
It is. We are walking up towards Deion Sanders in the crap bag. I mentioned earlier that there is an NFL game tonight. Ketch wants no part of it. Cleveland and Philly, 6:30 on NFL Network. By the way, Ketch, a quick injury update in the NFL. I thought this was just kind of weird. So you remember Jamison Williams that played at Alabama?
Of course.
He'll be suspended with the Lions because of the gambling. Right? Well, so he's able to practice now. He hurt his leg yesterday in practice. They think it's fairly serious, hamstring he'd been dealing with, and they think he made it worse. So he's out 6 for the gambling. They don't know how much past that now he's going to miss. But here's the problem for them. The rub for Dan Campbell is when you're suspended, you can't go to the facility for anything. So they're going to have to petition the NFL to allow them to treat him in the facility during the suspension. That's a thing that has to happen.
I think if I'm the NFL, I'm like, no, that guy's making millions. Y'all are $1 million organization. Figure out where he goes outside of the building.
Yep. And I agree with you. They're going to do that. Is exactly what they'll do. They'll find someplace in Detroit or someplace in the area where he can go. A gym, a therapy. I mean, it's not a gym. It's going to need to be like a, whatever team doctor they have. They'll have to send him to the office
or go to like a home visit.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There you go. Yeah, the home visit from the doctor. So just something to keep an eye on there. Jamison Williams. There's a lot of injuries with receivers in the NFL right now. Another one I thought was interesting is Treylon Burks, talented guy out of Arkansas. He sprains his LCL. He's out multiple weeks. He had 33 catches, 444 and a touch last year in 11 games. They said he was in tears as they took him off the practice field. Tannehill and the other guys going over to Derrick Henry, going over to him and consoling him. Burks was inconsolable, in tears, because they think he'll have to miss multiple weeks. Let's hope it's not a ton.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, tough stuff. That's that time of year, though. This is the time of year when those injuries start happening and guys got to jump in. And
hey, you and I have done this is our 12th show. We have not done in 12 episodes an injury show. Other than mentioning Donovan Green with the Aggies.
Right.
Cowboys been pretty clean. Longhorns have been clean.
Yep.
Most of the sport so far, like just in general, I'm waiting for that first, this team's quarterback is out for the year. And like suddenly it's what quarterbacks are free agents that are available that could go in and be a starter. Are there going to be trades? Who loses a starting running back? It changes. You know, we haven't done our fantasy draft in my league yet, but there's always guys that draft early. They're like, no, I took so-and-so in the first round. And so far, we're pretty deep into August. It's not a storyline that weirdly just hasn't popped up in either the teams that we primarily cover the biggest names in the sport in general.
Yeah, biggest name I'd say right now is Jonathan Taylor with the Colts, where he's going through, he's coming back from the injury, but he's also got contract stuff. There's a personal deal he's dealing with right now and away from the team. His has been an ankle. There's an ankle he's trying to deal with. So doesn't sound too crazy serious. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully they can get all that worked out. But NFL season coming up. By the way, I mentioned the Lions. How about 3 weeks exactly? 3 weeks from tonight is Detroit and Kansas City. 24 days till the first NFL Sunday. And, of course, 16 days till Texas and Rice. We have gone over that 2 o'clock hour mark, so I think that means it's time for the crap bag. By the way, Ketch, you were asking earlier about mini helmets. How about the crap bag helmet of the day? Can you tell me what that helmet is?
Kind of looks like an old Portland Breakers helmet.
It does kind of have that feel. This is the helmet that the Jacksonville Jaguars were not allowed to wear because it was too close to the car company.
Oh.
They got sued, and my man Clayton, the collector, I was over at his place. He's trying to get rid of stuff because his wife hates that he has as much stuff as he does, and I am taking as much as he'll give me. And he goes, hey, would you be interested in this? And I almost passed out. It's awesome. Great.
What will you do with your helmets when there are too many to display?
I don't know what you mean by too many to display. What does that mean? Can you walk me through that? What do you mean?
It feels like you could add about 5 more to your collection.
Right.
And then there's no more that will fit on camera.
That is true. But in terms of the room itself, right over here, right over that way, there's more shelving that can house helmets if we need.
Do you have helmets that could get benched? So let's say I got you the entire USFL collection of mini helmets.
Right.
Would you, is there one that's like, oh, if I get a new one, this one's the one that goes first?
I mean, yeah, we certainly could have some helmets that would get moved. Yeah, I mean, that would happen. I mean, right over there, I've showed y'all, I've got all 8 of the original XFL helmets from 01. They're not in the shot right now, but I have them. They're right over there.
I realize you've got these set. I realize now you have them set up in divisions.
I have SEC in divisions right now. SEC, but most of that is division.
No, the NFL is in divisions. I can see going.
Of course, yes, the NFL is. We're not living in an anarchistic society. We got rules. Yeah,
I thought it was pure anarchy until just now.
No. You got your NFC over here. You got your AFC here, and we go by divisions. I don't know if there's
my eyes move left to right and not up down.
Right.
So every time I've looked at the helmets,
there you go.
It does look like anarchy.
They go up, down on the divisions, and I think they might be set the way they finished last year, but I can't.
That's some BS because you got the Eagles on top of the Cowboys, and you did that because they finished ahead of them in the standings.
They did. I go by standings throughout the year. I'll rearrange and make sure I'm current on standing. Especially now that we've got the show in the Hall of Helmets, I got to have it right. We got to be consistent. Got to be accurate.
Oh, if we could just get like 100 more helmets, the possibilities are endless. Like in between segments, you could change it up. So people can actually get their updated college and pro standings based on the order of your helmets. Just rotate them in, rotate them out.
Whatever you need, we can work out. We can work on that in the Hall of Helmets. All right. So the crap bag, in addition to being all about the helmets, one of the helmets I do have, hang on, I got Deion's helmet here. I did get the Colorado helmet. Love the old school. Oh, beautiful helmet there. Deion is in the news once again, Ketch. And this time it is about something that happened at practice. Let me set up the moment. We're going to play Deion and then discuss it. So here's what happened. Play happens in practice. Running back gets a touchdown. There's a defensive player that didn't love the fact that it happened and into the end zone. One of those plays, little extra extracurricular. What's the Longhorn player I'm thinking of? Was it Killebrew? Robert
Killebrew had a few of those, yes.
Robert Killebrew, right. A little bit late on it, right? He drags the running back down in the end zone. And some guys, start packing in, and there's a little bit of a scrum, nothing serious, a little bit of a scrum, push, shove, fellas, and you think it's over. But then the camera kind of runs over to a huddle, and Deion is addressing his offensive players. Listen to primetime here.
He just fought. I seen two of y'all walking off over there, and you got a key teammate fighting. What they do that at?
Nowhere.
What they do that at?
Not here.
In one fight, we all fight. You understand that?
No, sir.
I don't want to see y'all walking off when somebody's fighting.
Yes, sir.
Never again.
Yes, sir.
All right, come on.
All right, Ketch. So the thing people are going to land on is if one fights, we all fight. So give me your initial thoughts as you saw the video. I know it's not your first time to see the video and listen to it. Where are you on this whole story? Because I'm interested to see where everybody goes with this one today.
Well, I have to admit, in the first half of the video, I struggle to understand what Deion is yelling. He is so gassed up that he sounds like Boomhauer from King of the Hill. It's just a
Colorado Buffalo, Maryland, Taylor, Darren Hagen.
Then he gets to the part where he's like, never again. And then I start to fully understand him. I suppose I'm not judging Deion. It's not that big of a deal to me. I know what he's trying to do. And because I understand what he's trying to do, not really clutching my pearls in outrage. I think the thing that popped into my head, though, is that what Nick Saban does? Is that what Steve Sarkisian does? Is that what does Mike Tomlin do that? Like, I just started wondering, because Deion as a thing, as a coach, is still so new. And we didn't watch a lot. I didn't. Like, I got to be honest. I don't think I ever watched a play when he was at Jackson State. I was aware, like, in the peripheral of, like, how his team was doing. Right. But I can't say that I went out of my way to watch Jackson State play any game last season. And I think the one I did, they got their ass kicked. I don't know. Like, I just wonder from a methodology standpoint, would other coaches view that as a teaching moment at that point? Do you understand what risk you put your team in when you engage in that? And we have to respect each other. There's a lot of things he could have said. I think there's a lot of things other coaches would say. I don't know whether there's a right way or a wrong way, but my initial instinct was to just think of, who do I consider to be a great coach, and how do I think they would have handled that situation? I don't feel like Nick Saban is telling his players, if one fights, we all fight. It's an inch. But you know what? Nick Saban right now at Alabama is not what Deion's dealing with at Colorado. No. So maybe I can't tell Deion that what he thinks his team needs to hear is wrong. I'm not there. He didn't say everybody has to throw punches. What he said, I guess it just depends on what you read into. If one fights, we all fight. At its worst, you can make it into something bad. But I didn't come away from that thinking, well, he doesn't care if his entire team gets suspended if it happens in a game. I think there will probably be a follow-up conversation when that team gets together to watch film. And I bet he goes a little deeper into that. But in the heat of the moment, I get it.
Right. And I do too. I go back to a moment, and you remember this in the history with Texas. During the Sims era, I think it was an Oklahoma game where Sims hit the deck and no offensive lineman helped him up. And I remember Texas fans losing their mind. And I thought they were right to do so because I want to see my guys take care of my quarterback. I get that notion. I think that's where Deion was starting. He was saying, wait a minute, one of your brothers got dragged to the ground in practice and you just kind of walked away like it was nothing. Get over there. Also, one of the things he yelled there, Ketch, that you and I missed it the first time. He said one of your key players. He's literally pointing out it was your running back that got dragged down, not a scrub, not a rando. So I think that's the point he's trying to make. It's also just about the message and its delivery. I think Saban, Kirby Smart, and anybody you'd want to make would deliver the message. I think they would do it through film. I think they would have had it recorded, or they'd come back in a meeting and reference it. Fellas, here's what happened. Now, I want you to look at where y'all were. This is where you were. It's where you were. It's where you were. You didn't go help your guy. Nick, I don't think just immediately starts screaming at him. You know, it's the difference between, like, if you're the dad in the family and you're on vacation and you want everybody to have a better time, you could sit there and calmly tell them, man, I've been too stressed. We need to have a better time. Or you could have sweat dripping down your face and grab one of your kids and go, we need to have a better time. It's the same message.
Okay, Clark.
Right? But you've done it two different ways. Right? Exactly. If you're Clark Griswold and you want to have fun at the amusement park, there's more than one way to do that. So that's where I would go with Deion. I think people are going to kind of rip into it for the wrong reason. Because, you know, like you said, the worst version is in a game, 15 dudes come off the bench when there's a little scrum and flags go crazy and guys get ejected. But I don't think that's where it ends up. I'm going to give Deion the respect to say he'll go back around and say, look, I flipped out at practice because here's what I thought. Here's what I'm seeing. Let me make sure I get my message clear here. And this is what practice is. This is what a game is. But the next time one of our guys hits the deck in practice like that, y'all need to be there for him. I think that's the overall message.
It's also a reminder of how much shame is an integral part of the football coaching dynamic. You know, he was shaming those guys because they didn't defend their player. And I'm reminded, you can watch, I think you and I probably, while it's ongoing, we'll constantly reference Hard Knocks. I watched episode 2 last night. Mm-hmm. One of the things they're not afraid to do in the NFL is find a bad play and just show it over and over again and say, this isn't what we do. This isn't the effort that we expect. The language is awful. There's a lot of shaming the person involved in the name of making sure that person and others don't repeat it. It's kind of fascinating.
Because somebody made it an old school, new school discussion on the chat as well. I'll just tell you, Ketch, you know me, I'm not the most conflict guy in the world. I think if I'm a coach in that situation, I wouldn't have yelled like that. I'd have gotten on him right then, though. I'd have tried to teach the lesson right then. And I'd have gone to those offensive guys and be like, come on, man. Anybody in his color jersey, like, you got to go help him out.
Do you want to hear the worst football shaming story I have in my collection of football shaming stories?
Does it involve someone pooping?
No, that's my poop story.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I'm ready to hear.
Doesn't technically involve me.
Okay, excellent. Go ahead.
And it does involve the legendary Don Caldwell, McCallum High School basketball coach, who also at one point was the freshman football coach. In my freshman year at McCallum, so this would have been like 1990, we had a running back named Larry Brown that was one of these guys that probably should have played in college, and he was just better than everybody the day he showed up. If he'd have been committed, he could have done anything. We had a play where it was like I don't know what we were doing, but we were scrimmaging each other, and he hit a guy whose name I think was David. And David was probably half his size. So David is just holding on to Larry while Larry Brown is like running for a touchdown. And he drugged this poor kid like 10, 15 yards while the guy hung on his leg.
Uh-huh.
So when the play was over, Coach Caldwell came over and told him that on that play, he looked like sperm running down his daddy's leg. At which point, everybody just started calling the kid Sperm. That became his new nickname. And like that lasted for a week. And the poor kid had to transfer out of McCallum.
Damn.
Because Basically, he just became sperm on the spot.
That'll remind me not to bitch about Blinky later. Wow. That's rough. That's rough, brother. That is just, it's hard to get a prom date. There you go.
Oh, no.
There it is. There it is.
And yes. Hey, and my poop story, which I don't have to tell right now because Dustin McComas is about to join us, but that happened too. And one of the things that, here's what that guy David didn't do. I showed up the next day at school because I knew there was going to be like a poop remark.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had to fight a dude. Like I had to beat a guy up.
Right.
7:30 in the morning in front of the whole school so that nobody knew to come at me with the poop jokes.
I love that you had a plan for it. The sentence is starting.
I did.
Hey, Ketch, I heard that you boom, 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 boom.
He said it in front of a girl. And I was like, that is not going to fly.
Nope. That's it. We're done.
And what sperm didn't do that.
Oh God, you're calling him that. That's just, I mean, do you remember the person's actual name?
Not really.
Oh my God.
I mean, to be fair, this was 33 years ago, right? 1990. Yeah. It was like 33 years ago. And was it? No. 1990. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. So it's been a while. And he was only in school for like a week. The only reason why I even remember this guy's existence was sperm.
Yeah.
Like
hey,
if he just transfers because, you know, I don't really like it at McCallum, out of sight, out of mind.
Man, you know what, Ketch? When certain guests are waiting, they're waiting. When this guy is waiting, he's on deck. I got to tell you, he's on
like
deck
this.
right now.
Richard, wait. Paxton wants to do a shirt for me. So there you go, Blake. Before the show's over, your choice.
Do a shirt.
Find any t-shirt that you want to.
Oh no!
And put it on me.
Wow.
It's only fair, Chad.
I guess. Yeah, sure. Go find
if there's
something.
like an I break for naked men t-shirt or something out there. Whatever.
What? Come on now. Yeah, I don't
Sorry.
know. That's the kind of thing that makes Dustin McComas maybe not want to have this reunion. I mean, that's weird.
I would argue that it's exactly the kind of thing that would make Dustin McComas want to come on the show.
That's what makes him go, oh, yeah, there's Ketch. Oh, yeah, it's Ketch. Yeah. That's my guy.
He did a show with us for years. You think he's not used to where this thing can go?
He knows. Come on now.
Let's bring him aboard.
Let's do it. The King of Ping.
Oh, guys, it's good to be back. And I've got a shirt for you. Going back to the days of the drive. Texas A&M women's basketball national champions.
Yes. Can we get Ketch a 2011 women's national title?
Because I think we did several shows about whether Chad could wear that in the studio or not.
It's one of my greatest years of my life. 2011, my Mavs won the title, and my A&M women's basketball team won the title. And Ketch was trying to make me feel bad about it, like I'm not allowed to wear some national championship gear.
You're not allowed to rep the champs.
The champs, by the way.
Understand this: in 2011, Longhorns were coming off of 5-7. The MAC program was in the toilet. Ryan Howard has his injury in the final at bat of that series against the Cardinals. He tears his Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
My Sixers were nowhere near a championship. My Cowboys weren't winning a championship. What the hell was I there? What was I excited about? Your Mavericks?
So you were lashing out at me is what you're saying.
I was, yes. And I apologize for that, Chad.
I appreciate the apology. I appreciate that. That makes me feel a lot better. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dustin, how the hell are you, man? You're doing your own thing now. You're always on the road. Like, just update us on what life is like for the King of Ping. It occurred to me today, it's been a couple of years since you left Orangebloods. And like, for me, I think I've just blocked it in my head that it's only been a couple of months, that a decade might go by, and I'm just going to convince myself Dustin's only been gone for a few months.
It's things are going well, but like from the end of May through the second week of August, like I'm either at a field or I'm driving or I'm with the kids. That's just kind of how things go. It's our busy season, and it wraps up with about 9 or 10 days. I just got back from San Diego a couple of days ago at Area Code, which is kind of like my scouting Super Bowl. It's all these pro scouts come together and they have tryouts and they pick these teams from different regions, and then they go out to the University of San Diego and they just play games for like a week and a half. It's awesome. It's like scouting directors and scouts and college recruiting coordinators and college head coaches. So it's pretty much heaven for me, but that also kind of signals the end of the summer grind. So now things are slowing down a little bit, but doing the 5-tool thing, recorded another podcast today with Drew Bishop, of a Longhorn fame. He's doing well, but just a ton of baseball all the time and a ton of kids. The 1-year-old is walking now. The 3-year-old is very, very, very much behaving like a 3-year-old. Like bedtime is hostage negotiation crisis. Like it's like, how do we get you asleep within an hour? It's like negotiating with like a terrorist. Like, I want a snack. I want this. I don't want that cup. I want this book. I want 5 books, not 4 books. And he's big into Taylor Swift music videos right now. So my wife went to the concert and showed him a couple of videos. So now every day, I want Taylor videos. I want 3 Taylor videos. No, I want 5 Taylor videos. So you guys know how it is. I mean, that's just that stage of life with the kids right now. But it's pretty much baseball, kids, and then things kind of do slow down around football season, which is good. It's good to kind of have that in my back pocket and dive back in and immerse myself into what should be a good Texas season this year. I think, like, if it doesn't happen this year, I don't know if it's ever going to happen for Sark at Texas.
I can hear that Ron Burgundy question mark in your voice. Should be? Before we get there, Dustin, let me make sure I'm clear here. You have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and the 3-year-old's a boy or girl?
Yes. Yeah, 3-year-old's a boy, 1-year-old is a girl. The 1-year-old girl can do no wrong.
So you got you have a 3-year-old son that negotiates with you to go to bed, and you got to play like the 10-minute version of All Too Well, or he's going to scream all night?
Yeah, the funny thing is his favorite video is You Need to Calm Down, which it doesn't register with him like at all. Like he knows the lyrics.
So he likes the Katy Perry and the flat and the colors and stuff.
Yeah, he loves everything about all the colors and the song but it doesn't click with him that like, do you know what this means? You know the song title, You Need to Calm Down? And no, it hasn't quite clicked with him yet, unfortunately.
Oh, that mental image is going to be my favorite thing of the day, maybe. Tell us about that Texas football team. Because I know a lot of fans are so excited about it. You have followed it so closely at one point. So for you now, do you get to just look at them as a fan? Do you still feel like you're covering the team in some way, or do you just get to sit back and kind of soak it up as a fan?
So funny story. So like it was like this first September, I hadn't been at Orangebloods, and I went on a bachelor party to San Diego and with all Texas grads I knew from college, and watching the Arkansas game at Arkansas where they get smoked. And I looked at them, I go, this being a fan thing sucks. Like, how did you guys do this for so many years? This is terrible. Like, it just ruins your day. Like, and I thought over time, like, it would kind of creep its way back. I still look at them analytically, reporter-wise, opinion column. It just like you do that for so long, and I don't think I can ever look at them like a little bit differently. Especially the baseball program. I'll never be able to look at that and not like have the reporter analyst cap on. Probably the same for basketball as well. And football is like, like I went to Texas. I was a big football fan before I started Orangebloods. Like it'll come back, right? And it hasn't quite come back. And maybe that's just a product that I was like, man, these losses, these aren't fun. Like, I don't know how you guys did this for a decade plus. Actually, I know how you did it. You got onto the Orangebloods message board and melted down afterwards. But I don't know how you guys did the whole fan thing. So I joke with my wife because it was like she, for the longest time, couldn't comprehend why, like, I never wore Texas gear. Like she's like, wait, you work for Orangebloods, but you don't wear. I was like, yeah, like, you're unbiased in this. You're a neutral reporter. That's the only way I believe you can do this. And then now she's like tries to like get me into Texas gear and stuff like that. So I do have a black Texas polo that I wore on game days last year because I joked that like it's kind of like my football fandom soul is still black and it's got a little bit of a heartbeat. It's trying to come back. But it's definitely, I'll never be able to like look at those teams in a true fan perspective way. It's just, I'll never be able to think of it like that.
Your favorite player on this Texas team as a fan is whom?
That's a great question. Kelvin Banks, man, like when we followed him as a prospect, just the athleticism and the projection back then and the way he bends, the way he moves, it's when you've watched Texas for so long, you've kind of been dying for that type of left tackle, like a franchise type of left tackle, mega 5-star prospect. And like when you don't see that for a long time and one comes around, you really appreciate it even more because it's kind of like a unicorn type of prospect on your roster now. So I've got to go with Kelvin Banks. Like we've seen good running backs. I loved Bijan, like covering him, like talking to him, fantastic guy. And the receivers are fun, worthy deep balls and that sort of thing. But like, man, like Kelvin Banks, like that guy, you just put the tape on, you just watch him move around. He's just so different than what we're used to seeing.
So Dustin, right now, Ketch and I think are both in the 9-3 club in terms of the prediction. So are you right there with us? Are you going up? Are you going down? Where are you?
I'm at 10. I'm at 10-2 right now. Part of the reason why is I'm a big schedule guy. And if you look at their schedule, besides Alabama and maybe TCU, who knows what TCU is going to look like at that time of the year with, coming off the season they had and some coaching changes and things like that. But everything else, like they're going to be favored. They're going to be a betting favorite in all of those games. I just look at their talent on paper. But I heard you guys talking about this. Until Sark does it, there's that question of can he do it? And I know the circumstances at Washington were a little unique from where he inherited that program and stuff like that. But still, like he does have a track record as a head coach, and he doesn't have one of those big successful types of seasons on his resume. So until that happens, it's like, well, past history has told us that it hasn't happened under him. And, the second half collapses and those sorts of things. Like he's got a lot of questions he's got to answer, before we just give him the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, he's going to win the Big 12. But I do think that this on paper, and just the way it shapes up with the conference, has the chance to be the best Texas team we've seen in a long, long time. But I just, until Sark does it, I have a hard time giving him the benefit of the doubt of like an 11-1 or even an undefeated run the table type of season. Like I'm at 10-2 right now, just because I think they will be favored in almost all of their games this year.
All right.
Dustin, a 2-part question. You're not on the Modcast, and yet mainly because for the last few months, you've been super busy doing the scouting thing. I mean, Dustin can attest to this. I think even a week ago, I was like, hey, can you come on the show? And he like sent me a clip of like baseball that he was watching. And I was like, oh, yeah. I get it. We have to settle the Casey Thompson. Is he a good quarter? And the thing is, you are treated to lunch no matter what your answer is. But we have to decide whether Alex is right and Casey Thompson was a good quarterback at Texas, or he wasn't, at which point Jason wins the bet. We've been waiting for your vote. So give it now so that we can definitively, and all the votes will be in, we can declare a winner of the bet and we can all have our lunch.
So, and I've listened to the audio from that modcast, years and years ago. And given the context of that discussion, I am declaring Jason Sukamel the winner of the Casey Thompson bet. I'm on the Sukamel side. Casey Thompson had some bright flashes, but how many programs is he on now? Like it just wasn't ever quite there to where you could say with full conviction, Casey Thompson was a good quarterback. So I am with Sukamel on this one. I'm declaring him the winner of the long ago Casey Thompson good quarterback bet.
How long has this been years ago? How long has this been going on, fellas?
A long time.
Casey Thompson was on campus for like
it was his true
day.
Freshman year. Yeah.
It was like his second day of practice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Alex was like, that guy's playing in the NFL. And then it just was like, what are you talking about? It's just you just saw him practice a little bit in shorts and helmets. And he's like, oh, you can just tell. And then at that point, it turned into a bet from there. And honestly, Paul, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're saying that the debacle will never be answered.
No, it's answered. It's answered.
Just got
All
answered.
The votes are in. Yeah, the votes are in. They're tallied.
It's done. And Alex does not want to pay off on this bet, but he owes me, Dustin, and Jason and Anwar. He owes us lunch.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I've always told you, Ketch. All you needed to do, get the band back together. Just my presence, just my general presence, the blinking kind of keeps you measured. Everybody can think straight. And now you're answering questions from decades ago. Come on.
We're solving life's problems.
Exactly.
On House Divided.
We're going to Franklin soon, Dustin. Alex isn't going to want to hear it, but we're doing Franklin barbecue on Alex. The beautiful thing about that, Chad, is I wormed the rest of us into the bet.
Mm-hmm.
At first, it was just an Alex Jason bet. And I was like, how about the loser has to buy all of us lunch?
Oh, okay.
And
it was classic Ketch instigator. Like just kind of snuck in there and let's make this a lunch bet. And those two are rocking and rolling, going back and forth with each other. And Ketch and me and Anwar are like, you guys, let's make this a bet. Let's make this happen. And then it just turned into like nobody could define A, the definition of good, and B, whether he was good or not.
It goes back to the subjective damn good, Dustin.
Yes.
Like some people think damn good. Some people think damn good is better than elite.
Here we
and
go.
I look at damn good and think that's not, you go from very good to damn good to great.
Right.
And when we said he has to be a good quarterback, it left it open for interpretation. And only today, 5 years later, do we finally have an answer.
Man,
we got an answer.
I feel like it's a big day for y'all. I really do. This is really, you know what, Ketch? You talked about wanting to do therapy with AT since she's a licensed therapist now, but therapy with King of Ping, I didn't expect. I really feel like this is a growth moment for both of you.
Yeah, Alex does not agree.
No, he won't. He will not.
So Dustin, one of the things we've been doing today, and I got to be honest, when I thought of this, I thought of you. So I've stole from the Orangebloods message board, hottest game you've ever been to, coldest game you've ever been to, drunkest sporting event you've ever attended. Let's hear them.
Oh, man. Well, I've got a story, but I didn't attend the game, but it was about a game. And it was not a Texas game. It was a Florida State game, which, as you guys know, I'm a Florida State fan. Yeah. So to me, nothing as a sports fan is better than the feeling of knowing fully that your team is back. Like they are good. They're back. The misery is over. So it's 2013. And at that night, Florida State was playing at Clemson. So through college, I was a big Pluckers trivia player, still am. And we had a group of guys that would go every Wednesday, and we were good. So over time, we saved up all these gift certificates. And then one Saturday, we're just going to throw ourselves a party. So we went there at like noon, and I think the group of like 8 of us consumed at least 2 bottles of Fireball and ate lunch. So we're off to a terrible start. Yeah. And to this day, I will not drink Fireball anymore. So we go. It's also my friend's birthday. So his parents throw him. Excuse me. I get just like weird talking about it.
So
his
emotional.
Parents throw him a bar tab at a bar downtown. So it's like, drinks are flowing. Everybody's having a good time. I mean, who knows the things that are consumed. So at that point, a responsible Dustin would just send himself no. But no, baby, it's Florida State game day. We're fired up. I've got the obnoxious jacket on, even though it's not cold outside. So we go over to this bar across the street called Dogwood on West 6th. And that game starts. First play, LaMarcus Joyner strips the Clemson tight end, fumble recovery. Bam, Jameis to Kelvin Benjamin, touchdown, 7-0. I'm like, oh, I'm hyped. Then 14-0. And then it's just rolling. And by the end, I think they win that game 54-10. It was just an absolute beatdown. Like, I am just a mess. I'm a mess. Like, I go back to my apartment complex. I'm trying to punch in the code to get in. I fall down. I lose my cell phone in the bushes, which I never found. And then the kicker is I was so drunk that I was knocking on the door to get in my apartment, and I thought my roommate had deadbolted it. And I just was like banging on the door. I was like, let me in. Da, da, da. I don't have my phone. Da, da, da. I thought he had deadbolted me. I had the key. So some poor neighbor somewhere like called like security of the apartment. Like, this idiot's banging on his door. They come in, they pull the key out of my pocket, they put it in, unlock the door, and leave. I couldn't open the door. I could not open the door. And like, I go in. And
all you needed was some help with the key?
All I needed was some help with the key. That's all I needed. There was nobody in, no door was deadbolted. And like, I had just started kind of dating my now wife at the time. So I had to like Facebook's message her the next day. It's like, hey, sorry, I lost my phone. Like, it's crazy night. Just kind of fell out somewhere. I don't know where it went. So that was that experience. Hottest game, like, dude, I covered Texas baseball. Like, take your pick. That's the hottest.
The coldest game is any game at the Dish in February, right?
I was gonna say both for you or the Dish. Gotta be right.
Alumni game, coldest game, hottest game. Like when Texas went to Omaha in 2018, when they had the Super Regional home, I went on the field for post game. It was so hot, like my phone was overheating in my pocket, and like I swear it was like temperature readings off the turf for like 130 degrees. Like, it was unbelievably hot down there. So yeah, take your pick of Dish games, like in terms of the heat. Yeah, I was in the press box sometimes, but I sat behind home plate a lot, and it was always the hottest place in Austin and always the coldest place in Austin when it was cold. But so the Florida State Clemson game, like when I get down, sometimes I still watch that game. I'm like, oh yeah, those were the days, like when you're back, like it's,
well, you have to rewatch it so you can completely remember what happened.
Well, that too. Yeah. What happened in the second half?
Like, I remember LaMarcus Joyner, but it's a little dizzy after that.
Right. Yeah.
You know what, Dustin, since we were talking about therapy and you guys solving one problem, I think we can now go to another issue. Since you have all the Florida State stuff, you and I have talked plenty of Florida State over the years, whatever, but obviously now I'm going into year 6 of Jimbo, if I'm counting it correctly. So give me a thought on both sides. Florida State this year, big game against LSU to start. Do you think they need to be top 10? And then talk to me about Jimbo, bringing in Petrino. What would you tell Aggie fans this year?
Florida State, to me, is a fringe top 10 team. So I think 9th is fair. When you consider the quarterback they brought back, what they did on the defensive line, I still can't believe Jared Verse came back. That's still surprising to me. But they go out in the portal and really do a good job there. Receiver group is really good. Trey Benson comes back. I mean, they check a lot of boxes. I'm still a little skeptical about their defense, but they're gonna score some points. And as long as Jordan Travis stays healthy, they can play with anybody in the country, I think. We'll see what happens. That LSU game is going to be a toss-up game, but it being in Orlando, I think Florida State gives them a little bit of an edge. Oh, Jimbo, man, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think this Bobby Petrino thing is going to work. Just from having followed Jimbo for so long, he's been such a micromanager with his offense. And I just have a hard time seeing him and his personality just relinquish a lot of what he needs to relinquish in order to just be a head coach. I don't see that working. And I think he kind of lost that locker room, when they recruited so incredibly well. But I think a lot of that was they got a bunch of guys on campus that might not have went there for all the right A&M reasons and maybe weren't into the program. And it just kind of created some chaos from there. So he's got a lot of work to do. I don't really see that thing clicking in a way that it needs to click, but they're going to be talented. And we'll see what happens to the quarter. I just assumed Connor Wegman was going to be the guy, who, by the way, was a fantastic baseball prospect in high school. Really, really good baseball prospect. But from what I've read and heard, it just kind of seems like that's a battle. And I don't know. They're kind of entering the year with this weird amount of uncertainty. And I just don't see that thing clicking the way it clicks, but they're going to be talented. I mean, they're going to be in his style of play keeps them in a lot of games. So they're going to be competitive. I just don't think they're going to have the season A&M fans want them to have.
So you're saying you don't really feel the phrase therapeutic growth in terms of a decision involving Bobby Petrino. Is that what you're telling me?
No,
okay.
I do not feel therapeutic growth with that decision. No, I don't.
All right. Just checking. Catch as you were.
Chad, never in the history of us doing a show together have I ever been so glad you asked a 2-part question. From the moment Dustin started talking until literally 2 seconds ago, the maids are vacuuming. One of my dogs just went ape crap at the idea that the vacuum cleaner is on.
Okay.
So had I not muted my microphone for like 3 minutes, it would have been the worst case of dog barking that we've had since you and I've started doing a show.
See, that's good. So I picked the right moment for my Jimbo therapy question.
You did.
Good.
You did. And it kept me from, because I was able to mute myself, my blood pressure didn't rise. Because, then you're like, you really want to scream, shut the fuck up. And you don't.
Yeah.
So, by the way, that was me channeling my inner Brian Jones there. Like, I only kind of cursed just then. A baby curse. If you can believe this, Dustin, we had Brian Jones earlier, and he claims that his new bride has cut cursing out of his portfolio, and that the last time he went golfing, he only cursed twice the entire day.
I don't believe that.
Dustin, I don't
believe that.
Dustin, I had to make him swear at me. And he went and closed the door and then came back and hit me with an MF bomb, but he didn't do it until he closed the door. It was fantastic.
Speaking of which, Dustin, your favorite curse word is?
Oh, are we allowed to say it? We are?
I mean, don't drop a C blast.
Yeah, not that one. If that's your favorite,
I judge you if that's your favorite.
I feel like a really good F-bomb has a lot of usage. It's very diverse.
Okay, let it out.
Yeah, you can say, fuck this, or oh, what the fuck, or
okay, then settle down. Settle down. You got it out.
Yeah, it's got a lot of, you can kind of twist it to do a lot of different things, So yeah, that's probably my favorite one.
I think that is the answer. Any version of that word, I'll accept. The others, I really need an explanation because I think it is.
And plus, it's the one as a kid I think you were most afraid to say. That was the big one. Like you said that one, it was like, a Christmas Story soap in the mouth type situation. Like the other ones you can kind of get a pass with. But you say that one, that's a different line to cross.
Yeah, you could clear a whole room with that one in anybody's family.
Hey, Chad, just so you know, Dustin is a big Spurs fan. Not the Spurs that you're thinking of.
No,
he's a Premier League soccer fan. He's a Spurs fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious. I have 2 Spurs questions. A,
see the thing going
there
on
it
the
is.
screen.
There it is.
Do you curse more during Spurs games than other games? And 2, are you prepared for Spurs to be relegated without Harry Kane?
Oh, what the fuck is that? Relegated. Oh man, you just tried to sneak that one in there.
I did. I'm proud of myself.
No, I think my cursing is the highest during Steelers games, probably by far.
Fair enough.
And that part of that's Matt Canada. He sucks. Tottenham, like I've been like battered so much as a Tottenham guy that I just have like a unique, realistic, here goes this again. Here it comes again. Like, so I don't cuss as much during those. In like the Harry Kane, like it was was bizarre. I don't even know if I've still processed it. Like I became a fan when I went to London in college way back in like 2006. And, Harry Kane wasn't even a thing then. It was Dmitry Berbatov and then Gareth Bale and those guys. But like, I haven't really known Tottenham without Harry Kane. Like to me, and I know other clubs go through this sort of thing, but Tottenham, like he was the club, like that's who it was. So that's going to take a lot of getting used to, but I'm not expecting them to finish top 4 or any unreasonable thing like that. But they'll hang out in like the 8 range, and they'll probably get to a cup final and disappoint me. Like, so it'll just kind of be par for the course as usual.
Dustin, you just made a reference to Canada. I want to go back to that, since for people who don't know, I'm a Cowboys fan married to a Steelers fan. So you're my Steelers counselor in a way, and have been for years. So my wife, the word Canada can be on the TV and she starts to get pissed off and are they talking about Matt Canada? No, honey, just the country of Canada. Can you think of the last time that you guys hated an OC this much?
No, I cannot in my Steelers life think of an OC I hated this much. And they had some pretty decent ones over the year, back to the Wisenhunt days and things like that. But no, not even close. It's just like a Mickey Mouse operation for an NFL team. Like, I don't get it. Like, he sucked in college. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Do
you believe in Kenny? Do you believe in Kenny Pickett?
These guys around, like, look at the other NFL teams. Is anybody else doing that? No, they're not. Like,
no. You believe in Kenny Pickett?
I think Kenny Pickett's ceiling is a good Alex Smith. So, Super Bowl winner? No. I don't think so.
What a weird compliment sort of comment to make about a quarterback. I see your ceiling as a good Alex Smith.
Alex Smith.
Right. Like, good decision maker, kind of athletic, like is going to be accurate, got some leadership intangibles. But when push comes to shove and you're trying to win a Super Bowl, they went and got somebody better than Alex Smith.
Oh, my goodness. All right, Ketch, I'm done. I'm done with therapy if we need to go.
I'm good. Dustin, that felt like a good old bowl of mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving. Like, there were a lot of carbs. There was a little bit of gravy. It all tasted good. I have no regrets. Thank you very much for making the reunion possible. I will be letting you know about lunch.
Yes.
ASAP.
Hey, do I get in on that too, since I'm now part of the family?
Sure.
No.
I don't get. I'm not the one. Alex is going to be so mad at us collectively that I don't think you're getting in on that.
I can't get grandfathered in. Okay, fair enough.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Believe me, when he hears that I'm aiming for Franklin, he'll
be mad.
I might have to tell Alex that I'll contribute to the lunch. He's going to be like, "Wait a minute now. There's like a $10 limit on what we can get." But I don't remember that being a. We've all heard the audio. I don't remember
there was no limit. There was no limit to the there was no monetary limit or anything. So
Franklin,
get ready.
Here we come. Mr.
Talk
Franklin.
about meal and leftovers, baby. Bring it on.
That's right. Dustin McComas, formerly of Orangebloods.com, formerly of the 104.9 FM The Horn, producing us. And now
The Drive, baby.
That's right. And now he remains the king of ping and the foremost expert on baseball in the state of Texas and across the country. And one day he will be the general manager of the Boston Red Sox. If we just keep speaking it into existence, it'll happen. And who knows, maybe the Red Sox will win another World Series again under FSG. It doesn't feel that way right now.
It does not.
Dustin, have a great rest of the day.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother.
We have more fun on this show than we should legally be allowed to have.
Yes, this is one of those shows like back in the day, we'd get to the end and you'd always say, it's there it is. There it is right there. Blinky and soccer. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The thing is, he listens to Tottenham podcasts. he's heard them say the C word
Yeah.
5,000 times.
So
And
that's
I
why
think
you were worried.
I was.
Yeah. I got you.
I
That's
think
fair.
he's listened to the Brits a little too much. I bet that word slips out occasionally. He doesn't mean for it to, but
Yeah.
in England, it's like, dang.
Now, I'll tell you the one thing you could do for me, Ketch, when you talk about soccer, you could get me interested in a soccer game if you could guarantee me that you'll put me in a room with a bunch of fans, men and women, that will drop the C-bomb everywhere. If I can go to one of those games and drink some beer, I'll do it.
There's a Liverpool watch party place in Austin that's I know I've met some of the characters in the Liverpool fan club of Austin. There's no doubt in my mind.
Okay.
The C word comes out 100 times a game. No doubt.
Because I will need C-bombs, like from grandmothers, if we can do that. Like
there
that's what I
are
wanna
dudes
hear.
in the Liverpool fan club of Austin that are so out of control obnoxious that I left the Liverpool of Austin Facebook group.
Nice.
Couldn't do it.
That is
Couldn't
fantastic.
do it. I was constantly attacked by guys that almost certainly say the C word.
They were even too much for you. That is fan.
I think Blake may be right. It may be BD Riley's.
BD Riley's.
There
Okay.
you go.
All right. So we're done. We're good. We got to roll. Rod Babers coming up with the Rodcast. We're up over 330 right now. 330, 334 is what I'm seeing. Thank you to all those folks jumping in. Stay right here. Rodcast is coming up with Rod Babers. We will be back with a Friday show tomorrow. Thank you to everybody who is subscribed and liked, get the notifications. Thanks to Blake for all his hard work today, getting it done. Thanks to Brian Jones. Thanks to Dustin McComas. And, of course, thanks to the great Jeff Ketchum.
Yeah. Hey, get your butt on over to the Rodcast now. Don't.
That's right.
Just once we are done, just jump right in.
Yes. Get over there. Get on the Rodcast. Rod Babers is going to be breaking it down for you. We will talk to you tomorrow at 12. Until then, this is Blinky signing off. See ya.